can we start? Okay. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I am Aviral Barangi, Secretary, Nagpur branch of WICASA. So, continuing with the direct taxation month, here we are with the second session on direct taxation, which is NRI taxation. NRI taxation has always been a critical topic where all of us, including articles and all CA members, are expected to have an in-depth understanding of the topic. From getting the basics to the intricacies involved, we are expected to know each and everything. So here we are with the topic on NRI taxation. But before we begin, I would like to welcome our chief guest for the day, CA Rajesh Khanjode sir. Welcome sir. Our very efficient speaker, CA Mahavir Atal sir, CA Jiten Saglani sir, WICASA chairman, and our very dynamic CA Saket Bagadia sir, chairman, Nagpur branch of ICI. So, to give an energetic start to our today's session, I would request CA Jiten Saglani sir, Chairman of Nagpur branch of WICASA, for his welcome address. Sir.
Thank you so much, Aviral. Just a moment. I hope I'm audible, clearly audible.
Yes, sir.
Just a moment. Yeah, friends. Sorry, technology fails when we need it the most. And this has been proved each and every time when we do such programs. But friends, we are here with this program on in the direct taxation theme, wherein today we are covering the NRI taxation. And I, CA Jiten Saglani, on behalf of Nagpur branch of WICASA, welcome you all. We have the dynamic chairman of the Nagpur branch, CA Saket Bagadia, with us. Along with that, we have past chairman, CA Rajesh Khanjode sir, as a chief guest. And sir has been a mentor, guide, and always available for the Nagpur branch. So thank you so much, sir, for joining on just one call of ours. We have CA Mahavir Atal, who had been very nice and kind to accept this invitation of Nagpur branch. And he'll be talking today on the topic of NRI taxation. Friends, NRI taxation has been a very critical topic, as rightly stated by Aviral, because things keep on changing. It is very dynamic. And every year when the budget comes and when finance minister speaks, we all keep on listening what the direct taxation changes are there. And NRI taxation has been again in the forefront of say various amendments that are happening in various finance bills. So from that point of view, and as well as from the point of view wherein new Indians, we Indians who are now working for the country from abroad, and we bring in all the sorts of wealth to the country, we also need to understand that what the taxation impact will be when we bring that those kind of things in India. So from the point of view of consultants, I think this is a very important topic. We as a students, rather you all as a students and we as a member need to update ourselves. And we have a very good speaker in the form of CA Mahavir Atal, who will be explaining various areas today. We'll be covering the residential status, deemed income, and double taxation agreements. Mahavir, when I was talking to him, Mahavir ji told me that sir, deemed income का criteria या जो points है, उस पे अगर मैं बात करना शुरू करूँ, तो 3-4 घंटे तक बोल सकता हूँ. So I think we have very good speaker in the form of Mahavir, and he'll be talking today on this topic. And let's hope that this session is very interesting and exciting one for you all, and you gain a lot of knowledge from the session. So happy learning to one and all, and I hand it over to coordinators. Over to you, Aviral.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. The way you highlighted the importance of taxation, I'm sure all the students would remember it. So proceeding with the session, now I would request our very young, our very energetic chairman of Nagpur branch of ICI for his opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Aviral. A very good afternoon to all of you. Respected chief guest for today's session, past chairman, Sri Rajesh Khanjode sir, chairman of the student committee, that is WICASA chairman, as well as the vice chairman of the branch, Sri Jiten Saglani, the members of WICASA team who are doing an excellent job in organizing new events and like inviting the people, inviting the students for joining these sessions. A very good initiative by Team WICASA for organizing this very important session on NRI taxation. Friends, it's always a privilege and blessing when we get the blessings the words of wisdom from our past chairman, Sri Rajesh Khanzode sir. He has always been this pillar of strength for Nagpur branch. For anything and everything, we have always received great advices from him. So I'm really privileged, sir, and thank you so much for your spirited presence, for really enlightening and guiding the students, as well as really telling them as to what are the things which they need to do. Because international taxation is just one topic to listen, but to follow the things, there are many more things. If we understand the thing, then we can do any taxation. Generally, NRI taxation is something which you feel that this is something which is very difficult. But I have got my very good friend, CA, the speaker for today, is going to speak so good on this, I tell you, because he's so much experienced on this. I've got so much good interaction with Mahavir, I tell you, that he will make you learn the subject. We find the subject very difficult. But you know, when a person of the stature of Mahavir is there, he can teach you anything and everything. So I'm really fortunate that Mahavir has consented and going to guide the students on this very important topic. Friends, I always say that international taxation is a topic to nourish, and international taxation is a topic to learn and then nourish and then flourish along with it. We had recently organized an international conference, a national conference in international taxation at Nagpur branch for the members. That was a 4-day conference in which all the important aspects that were related to international taxation had been discussed. I was really privileged to listen to all those chapters, all those sessions. And I tell you, friends, that this is going to be really a very good area of practice when you're going forward for that. Being a student, when you see that there are so many things which are going on around the world, you always feel that you would always like to be a part of that, the amendments, the things. Whenever you listen this word of double taxation avoidance agreement, that is DTAA, you always feel on that, okay, fine, if you are going to go out of India and going to earn lots of money, so you are going to be the first thing that is going to come to your mind is that whether I'm going to pay the tax in India as well. Small things, big effects. 15 CA, 15 CB, another very important topic, because for every transaction which is there with the foreign countries, you are required to issue a form 16, form 15 CA or 15 CB. 15 CB is by a tax professional, that is a chartered accountant, and CA by the company. So we need to understand the transactions as to when these are applicable. We have got an apt personality in the form of Mahavir. I congratulate Team WICASA for organizing these events on a regular basis. Yes, Jiten, you are doing a fantastic job, because today the cricket tournament has already started, and tomorrow it's going to be cricket tournament as well as the indoor sports. And then you are going to have different events. But the most important event which Jiten was telling me about, and which I am inviting all the students with the national conference for CA students, which we have scheduled for 14th and 15th of September, awaiting the confirmation from the Board of Studies. But as soon as we get, we all would be really privileged to organize that event in Nagpur. So I wish all of you a very happy learning, and keep learning and keep enjoying. Thank you so much. Over to you, Avril, now.
Thank you so much, sir. The way you said, keep learning, keep enjoying, will definitely live up to your words. Now, thank you so much. Now, I would request Ms. Radhika Taneja, Treasurer, Nagpur branch of WICASA, to introduce our chief guest, C.A. Rajesh Khanzode, sir. Over to you, Radhika. Radhika, you there?
A very good afternoon to everyone present. I am Radhika Taneja, Treasurer of Nagpur branch of WICASA. Am I not audible? Am I not audible? Am I not audible?
You are, Radhika.
Am I not audible? Am I not audible?
Avril, it's getting not, it's not proper.
In progress. Am I audible?
Yeah, Radhika.
A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I am Radhika Taneja, Treasurer, Nagpur branch of WICASA. I am very honored to be there to give the introduction of Rajesh sir, the chief guest for the day. Rajesh sir has qualified his ICI final exams in November 1983. Sir is a member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India since 1984. He has been practicing since the year 1984 and has been practicing for 37 years till date. Sir is a senior partner in the firm Khanzode and Shinwai. The firm is empaneled with CNEG New Delhi for the audit of major public sector undertakings. Besides, this firm is handling direct and indirect taxation work, audit of companies, public sector undertakings, public sector banks, cooperative societies, and bank audit of public trust in societies and tax audit. The firm is handling project finance work, both domestic and international finance. Sir has personal expertise in direct and indirect taxes and audits. Sir was elected as a member of management committee of Nagpur branch of ICI of WIRC for 6 years since 1990 and was the treasurer for 1 year, vice chairman for 2 years, chairman for 1 year. And thereafter, Sir has served in various companies of WIRC and Nagpur branch and was also the member of Central Public Relations and CSR Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, New Delhi, for the year 2017 and 18. Sir has delivered lectures on various professional subjects in seminars and conferences of ICI and other trade organizations. Sir, we are very privileged to have you here. The team WICASA welcomes you.
Thank you so much, Radhika. Sir, we are very privileged to have you here. Since we have an eminent personality like you with us, I would request CA Rajesh Khanzode, sir, to enlighten the students with his enlightening words. Sir, please. Sir, you there?
Is he audible now, Aviral? Just confirm.
Yes, sir. You are.
Chairman, Mr. Saket Bhatia, Vice Chairman and Chairman of WICASA, Sri Jiten Sanglani ji, learned speaker of the afternoon, Mahavir Atal ji, and my young friends. In the first instance, thank you for speaking kind words about me in introduction. Students, globalization and liberalization gave rise to rapid growth of economy and consequently to tremendous increase in cross-border transactions. With the increased flow of technology and human capital across the border, non-resident taxation has been throwing up a variety of issues. These issues have increased manifold over a period of time since there have been constant changes in domestic tax laws and double taxation avoidance agreements, which majorly govern the non-resident taxation. This has resulted in complexities in taxation of NRIs, which necessitates detailed study and updation of knowledge of taxation laws and DTAA with various countries. This has also increased the scope of practice in this field. This has become a specific and separate field for practice by young chartered accountants and young and emerging chartered accountants like you. The students should not only study theory, but practical aspects of the law, which will help them in future practice and better understanding the law. The careful reading and understanding of Section 6 and recently inserted Section 6A is very important to establish the residential status of the person, which decides whether any income is taxable in India or not. The amendments have plugged the loopholes in the law to some extent and has reduced the period of stay in India from 182 to 120 days in case of Indian citizens and persons of Indian origin if his income is not liable to tax in the country of stay. It shall reduce the NRIs who manage the status by staying in countries like Gulf, etc., and avoiding or reducing the taxes. Provision regarding TDS of NRIs needs to be studied very carefully to comply with the provisions of the Act and to avoid the penalties. Further rules regarding remittances by NRI of their income earned in India should have been included under this topic for discussion. This is what my feelings are. Particularly, filling of Form 15CA and 15CB are most important. Where it is required and where it is not required, all NRIs are under are misguided by the various banks and tax practitioners who do not have the full knowledge of the provisions of the law. And while giving the advices on the personal taxation, in case of NRIs, the CA should be well equipped with the reading of FEMA, which goes along with this taxation, without which you cannot give correct and good advice to your client, and which is practically most important thing. Section 115C to Section 115I contains the provision regarding computation of income, filing of return, tax on investment income, capital gain on transfer of foreign exchange assets are important and need careful study. Provisions of Section 115F regarding capital gains are very important, as most of the NRIs invest in shares and other instruments in India, which give rise to the capital gain after sale of these investments. 115H gives option to NRIs to avail benefits of Section 115E and F even after becoming resident in any year, provided he files declaration along with the return. These are some practical issues and practical things which you must be keeping in mind and study in good detail to give the correct advice, and from your exam point of view also. Then most important provisions are provisions of FEMA and RBI circulars and taxability of income after returning to India. Most of the problems start when NRI returns for good in India. His status changes from NRI to resident, but not ordinary resident. And till he is not ordinary resident, his income from other countries are not taxable. But after he gains the status of ordinary resident, then all global income are taxable. Further provisions regarding keeping of foreign asset outside and conversion of your NRI account to RFC account, resident foreign currency account, are most of the NRIs forget to convert their NRI account to RFC account, which gives rise to the penalties from FEMA. There is the RBI master circular available for guidance of our members and students, how to operate the bank accounts and FDRs after returning for good in India. So careful study of these circulars are also must to avoid any penalties under, not only under income tax, but the Foreign Exchange Management Act as well. Thereafter, Section 9, which gives rise to the deemed income, and Section 9(1), which has given rise to the case of Vodafone and Hutch, are most important. Deemed income, and which income are treated as a deemed income. Examples like exception to this in
So, excuse me, sir, you're muted, so your voice is not audible.
Now, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I was onto the actually provisions of Income Tax as well FEMA Act after returning to India, which are most important things. And most of the NRIs face difficulties after returning to India for good. So in this case, Master Circular of RBI and understanding of FEMA and conversion of your NRI account and NRI demat account as well to resident account, resident rupee account and resident demat account are most important. Otherwise, you will be penalized under both the acts. So these conditions, these provisions need to be studied very, very properly. Further, the section 9 regarding deemed income and which has given rise to the Vodafone Hutch case needs to be studied very carefully, as was said by Detain, that Mr. Atal can speak for 4 hours together on this. This is a true case. The section is so wide and is of so important and has wide ramification that unless understanding is proper, the taxability of the NRI, particularly the resident, non-resident entities, business entities, is impossible. You need to have very practical and thorough knowledge of this section, and detailed analysis is required for advising the client as well as in solving your questions in exams. The concept of business connection, permanent establishment, significance, economic presence, they are the most important in this section, which needs to be studied very carefully. Further, the amendments were made to the expression 456 of section 9(1) retrospectively by Government of India in Wild Finance Act 2012, which has now been reversed by the Finance Act 2021. Needs to be studied very properly. This has only given rise to the famous case of Vodafone and Hutch case. Vodafone Hutch case is of very much importance from the point of view of that it has settled the certain issues. First, issue number 1 is whether word directly or indirectly in section 9(1) refers to income or transfer of property. The courts have ruled, Apex Court has ruled that it is applicable only to income and not applicable to transfer of property. Then further, it has given rise to whether the income or taxes should have been taxable retrospectively in India or not. Ethically, it should not have been done. That is what member of our institute and eminent legal luminary, Mr. Harish Chalve, has argued before the Apex Court in this case. And the third and most important, it has again differentiated between tax planning and tax avoidance and differentiating the famous case of McDowell and company. So friends, with this word, I will not come, I'll conclude and will not come between you and the speaker in your deliberation hereafter. I thank the branch chairman, vice chairman, Mr. Sagdani, for giving me opportunity to inaugurate, and I wish this seminar all success. Thank you.
Aviral.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. The concepts and sections you highlighted on and paid emphasis on, I'm sure it would be useful to CA students at all levels and to all the students attending the webinar and to all the members. Now, I would request Mr. Amir Soman, Vice Chairman, Nagpur Branch of WICASA, to introduce our speaker for the session, CA Mahavir Atal, sir. Amit, you can take over.
Hello. Is it audible?
Yeah, you are.
Very good afternoon to one and all present here. I take this opportunity to introduce CA Mahavir Atal sir, who is the expert speaker for the today's webinar on NRI taxation. To introduce sir has qualified as a chartered accountant in May 2011. Sir is having an experience of 10 years in handling tax litigations, income tax rates, and providing tax consultation to expatriates. Sir is also a certified arbitrator. Sir has completed 100 hours of training conducted by the CA Institute for the post-graduation course of Diploma in International Taxation. Sir has a practice predominantly in the field of tax litigations, international taxation. Sir regularly appears before income tax appellate authorities in Mumbai, Pune, Nagpur, and Kolkata. Sir had also privilege of being a part of the training program of newly recruited IRS officers at NADT, that is the National Academy at Direct Taxes, on nuances of corporate taxation. Sir has also privilege of addressing the members of CA Fraternity and Tax Practitioners Association across various districts of Maharashtra and Chhattisgarh on multiple occasions, deliberating on the intricacies of direct taxes and international taxation. Till date, Sir has appeared in 500 plus cases before various tax appellate authorities across India. I would say we are having such an experienced and expert speaker who will be guiding us on this vast topic of NRI taxation. And sir, we are very much privileged to hear to you, sir. We welcome you also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amit. Now, I would now request CA Mahavir Atal sir to begin with this session. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Sorry, I'll cut the cliche of thanking all the organizers. I'll straight away get to my topic. Okay, to start with, I have a very basic question for all the participants. As I understand, most of the participants, I mean, maximum participants here are student participants. Okay, so very basic question, and this is very relevant for the today's seminar. मुझे ये बताइए आप में से कितने लोग ऐसे हैं जो सीए बन रहे हैं विद अ थॉट कि मैं सीए बनने के बाद में चैरिटी करूंगा, आई विल फाइल इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न फॉर फ्री, या मैं लोगों के टैक्स ऑडिट फ्री में करूंगा, या पुअर लोगों के मैं टैक्स रिटर्न्स फाइल फ्री में करूंगा. Okay, I know it is an oxymoron. Poor people need not file their tax return in India, but is there anyone in the entire participant who says that once I become a CA, I'll do a charity? कोई है इसमें? If there is anyone, kindly on their mic and say, yes, sir, I am the one. Okay, so finally, you all are becoming chartered accountant with only one intent. It's that to earn a good money and to live a standard life, right? Okay, I'm pretty good on this topic. Okay, let me take a step forward. How many of you don't just want to make money, but want to make tons of money? Don't just want to earn a reasonable salary, but want to earn a handsome salary. If you are the one, then believe me, international taxation is the field for you. You know, we are living in a globalized world. Gone were those days where the business used to operate in a very limited jurisdiction. जैसे हम देखते थे ना हमारे बचपन में कि एक किराना दुकान वाला वहीं के एरिया को कैटर करता है. Gone were those days. No, we have Amazon who are also into groceries. So until and unless you have good knowledge about international taxation, believe me, you won't be having a good flourishing career ahead. Now, to start with my topic, okay, first I'll share my screen, right? Okay. Can you see my screen? Aviral, Amaya, perfect? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So today we are going to discuss about international taxation, right? When you talk about international taxation, you know, basically there are three fields of practice. Now, the first field of practice is taxation of expatriates. Expatriate means the people who go outside India for a limited time, or who goes outside India for some employment or for some business. Can you correlate? We generally find our IT friends saying, "I am going on site to America." Yes, I'm talking about those individuals. I'm talking about expatriates. Then second stream of practice in international taxation is regarding taxation of non-resident companies. Right? This is second stream of international taxation. And the third stream, the most litigated scheme and highly controversial stream is transfer pricing. Now, considering my today's scope, I'll be giving you a brief about residential status. We'll be also discussing about income deemed to accrue or arise in India. I'll also give you a brief about overview of tax treaty agreements entered by the India. And then we will be discussing on one of the most celebrated, high profile, and one of the most biggest battle fought in the Indian history, Indian legal history, that is of Vodafone case laws. Okay, to start with, look, I am into tax litigation, and whenever we get a case now, the basic thing which we do or how we start is like, we just go to our basics. So what is our basic? We are talking about Income Tax Act. That means it is a tax on income. Am I good? What is Income Tax Act? It is a tax on income. Now the question is, what is income? Can I say that every receipt which I get is an income? Can I say that every receipt which I get is an income? The answer to this question is something yes, no, or relative. The answer is no. Because the word income is defined in the Income Tax Act. And it says only if your income falls within so and so criteria, then it will be taxable under the Income Tax Act. Okay, let me give you one example. How many of you get pocket money from your parents? Right? Everyone, right? No one is earning. Everyone gets pocket money from their parents. Now, this pocket money is also a receipt. Now, whether this receipt is taxable in India? Isn't it your income? Now, let's talk about another scenario. How about agriculture income? Can the central government in India tax an agriculture income? The answer to this question is also no. Indian government cannot tax an agriculture income. Yes, state government has been given a domain to tax agriculture income, but believe me, no state government tax agriculture income. So before you get into the intricacies of the international taxation, let's first understand the word income. And you know why this word income is very important? क्योंकि वोडाफोन का जो पूरा कंट्रोवर्सी हुआ था ना, ये सिर्फ वर्ड इनकम पे हुआ था. What Vodafone was trying to again and again say to the courts, look, this is not an income which is taxable in India. The fact that they have earned income, they have not denied. No one denies it. The fact they have earned income, no one denies it. But the only thing which they take it to the High Court and the Supreme Court was whether it is an income and whether the Indian government under the Income Tax Act 1961 can tax it. That's the reason I'm focusing very much on the word income. Okay. Now moving forward, income is defined in section 2, subsection 24. Right? हम generally देखते income is of two types. One is a real income and one is a deemed income. Look, section 9 is all about deeming, right? So you need to understand the difference between the real income and the deemed income. So if you understand the difference, then believe me, international taxation will be something of your forte. What is real income? I, a chartered accountant, give a consultancy service to someone and there is an income. Now this is a real income. I sell my property to a third person. I earn something. This is an income. Okay, I sell some good, I earn money, this is an income. Now, what is deeming income? Deeming is something a new concept. Deeming का क्या मतलब है? Deeming यानी ये आपकी income नहीं है, but हम ये मानेंगे, ये हमारी दादागिरी है, ये हम मानेंगे. I'll give you a very good example of this. Very good example of this. You all must have read of section 50C. Now what is section 50C? 50C says that in case if a ready reckoner value of the land sold by you is more than the actual consideration received by you, then the difference amount will be treated as your deemed sale consideration. क्या बोलते हैं? मैंने मेरी प्रॉपर्टी 1 करोड़ में बेच दी, जिसकी रेडी रेकनर वैल्यू 1.5 करोड़ रुपए है. गवर्नमेंट का बोलना है भले ही आपने 1 करोड़ रुपए आपको मिले हैं, बट जो बैलेंस 50 लाख रुपीस है, this 50 lakh we will treat as your deemed income. So deemed income is something which is not an income in true sense, but it is the Income Tax Act which says that if you earn so and so income, it will be deemed as your income. Right? Now, what is section 9? Section 9 says, you look, we understand these are not your income. But then, if you earn this income, then it will be deemed to accrue or arise in India. Right? It will be deemed to accrue or arise in India. Now, coming back to my old topic of section 224, what is income? Income Tax Act is everything about income. If you are able to convince to the tax authorities that this income is not taxable in your hand, this income is not income as defined in section 224, then believe me, he cannot tax you. So what is income? मैंने आपको deeming के बारे में बता दिया. Deeming जितनी भी provisions रहेंगे, gifts are again a deeming provision जो 56(2)(7), 56(2)(10) में आया है. Section 45(4) is again a deeming provision. Section 68 to section 69D unexplained credits, again these are all deeming provisions. जहाँ जहाँ deeming provisions है ना, section 224 ने उसको inclusive definition में लिखा है कि look, if you earn from a gift, then it is a deemed income. If you do so and so, it will be deemed as your income. But then they say it should also be your real income. Now, real income is not defined. So we go back to era of before 1950. There was one very celebrated case of Privy Council. In the case of Shaw Wallace, where the Supreme Court had an opportunity. Supreme Court those days were called as a Privy Council. They had an opportunity and they wrote down as to what do you mean by income? This is income means what comes in your pocket, right? First criteria. Second, you should get it periodically or you should expect to get it periodically. And third, it should come from a definite source. It should come from a definite source. So अगर आपकी 3 criteria में अगर आपकी income बैठती है ना, then it will be treated as a real income. So we know all the good examples कि हमारी income क्या है. Now I'll give you few income which courts have interpreted not to be your real income. Right? पहला example मैं आपको देता हूँ. Have you heard about very famous actress Sushmita Sen? Right? Back in 2012, when there was a lot of controversy going about Me Too. Do you remember that Me Too controversy? Where many females came up and said that even they underwent sexual harassment at their workplace or any other place. Similar one case was also filed by Sushmita Sen. Right? And by the virtue of that Me Too complaint, it went to the court. The judiciary says, ki, nahi, this happened with her and now you should compensate her. And by doing that, Sushmita Sen got a handsome compensation from the accused person. Now what Sushmita Sen did, while filing return of income, she did not consider this compensation received as an income. Then the matter again went up to the court and court said, okay, look, what can be taxed by income tax or by the central government is income which is defined under section 224. Undoubtedly, this is not mentioned in deeming provision. Now, they again went back to the old case of Shaw Wallace, where it says whether it comes in pocket, but yes, aaya hai. Whether it is expected to receive periodically, the answer was no. Whether it was from definite source, the answer was yes. But then, as it was and as that receipt was in the nature of a capital receipt, court said this income will not be treated as income under the Act. Let me give you another example. Nagpur branch has organized. Let's suppose Nagpur branch has organized a show of Arjit Singh. Now Arjit Singh, for some reason, Ajit Singh was called to the Nagpur and he was assured कि आपका show होगा, इतने बच्चे आएंगे, सब देखेंगे. Somehow that day Ajit Singh also came to the Nagpur, but for some or the other reason Nagpur branch couldn't conduct the seminar, so they compensated him for the loss. Now again, similar case when went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said if there is a case of a compensation of a loss, or if tomorrow I go and say to Virat Kohli, ले मैं तेरे को 10 करोड़ रुपए देता हूँ, आज के बाद तू क्रिकेट मत खेल. Supreme Court says that even this receipt is in the nature of a capital receipt, as it is not related to his business, and accordingly it will not be a taxable income in India. Therefore, it is very important to understand what is income. So we have two types of income: real income and we have a deemed income. Now moving ahead, what can be taxed by the Indian government? Okay, as you've always read that there is a charging section in every source of income. Like for salary, we have section 15. For house property, we have 22, business 28, capital gains 45. For the Income Tax Act, we have section 4 as the charging section. And this is what I have kept in my slide. Now what section 4 says, income tax is leviable on the total income of a person earned during the assessment year at an applicable tax rate. तो चार्जिंग सेक्शन बहुत ज्यादा डिटेल में नहीं है. वो क्या बोलता है कि जो टोटल इनकम है ना उसके ऊपर आप टैक्स लगा. अभी टोटल इनकम को भी एक्ट ने डिफाइन किया है. एक्ट बोलता है टोटल इनकम मींस द टोटल अमाउंट ऑफ इनकम रेफर्ड टू इन सेक्शन 5. टोटल इनकम रेफर्ड टू इन सेक्शन 5. तो अब हम पढ़ते हैं सेक्शन 5 की तरफ. नाउ व्हाट इज सेक्शन 5? Section 5 talks about scope of total income. It talks about scope of total income. Section 5 में दो सबसेक्शन है, Section 5(1) और Section 5(2). 5(1) बोलता है कि if a resident, I'll read the language of this section. Section says, subject to the provision of the Act, the total income of any previous year of a person who is a resident includes all income. 5(1) क्या बोलता है? अगर कोई इंडिया का रेसिडेंट है तो उसकी ये 3 इनकम इंडिया में टैक्सेबल रहेगी. पहली इनकम कौन सी है? इनकम रिसीव्ड और डीम्ड टू बी रिसीव्ड इन इंडिया. सेकंड है इनकम अक्रूड और डीम्ड टू बी अक्रूड इन इंडिया. एंड थर्ड इज इनकम अक्रू और अराइज outside India. That means for a resident, he need to pay tax on his global income. This is in a nutshell. Now, when we go to section 5(2), section 5(2) talks about taxation of non-residents. It says that, okay, any income which is received in India or deemed to be received in India will be taxable in India. Yeah. Then, second is any income which accrue or arises in India or deemed to accrue or arise in India will be taxable in India. But unlike resident, non-resident need not pay tax on their foreign sourced income. Right? So we have two categories of people: resident and non-resident. And now section 6 defines residence. Section 6 defines residence. Now, basically, before I entered into the definition of resident, let's understand the basic philosophy about the international taxation. Like, if you think in world or across the countries, there are two philosophies of taxation. Now, one philosophy of a country is like कि मेरे यहाँ पे जितने भी मेरे इंडिविजुअल्स है या जो भी मेरे रेसिडेंट्स है, ये पूरे वर्ल्ड में जहाँ पे भी इनकम कमाएंगे ना, that income will be taxable in my country. So this is one philosophy जिसको हम बोलते हैं resident based taxation. Now second philosophy is source based philosophy, which says कि हमारे को आपकी रेसिडेंस से हमारे को कोई लेना देना नहीं है. If you earn something out of our country, you better pay taxes in our country. You better pay taxes in our country. Now, if I talk about the first philosophy, जो बोलता है कि resident need to pay tax on their global income, is a philosophy which is followed by the maximum countries in the world. और वो countries जो बोलती है कि तुम अगर हमारे यहाँ से कमा रहे हो कोई tax pay करो, they are just handful. And to give one name among them is Singapore. Singapore क्या बोलता है कि we are not concerned about the residentship of our citizen. If you earn something for Singapore, you pay taxes in Singapore. If you don't earn from Singapore, don't pay taxes in Singapore. तो क्वेश्चन ये है कि हमारे इंडिया ने फिर क्या अडॉप्ट किया? Now India is like very smart. बोले हमारे को source based taxation भी चाहिए और हमारे को resident based taxation भी चाहिए. So in India we have a hybrid type of taxation system where we tax our residents on the basis of their residentship, but we also tax all those non-residents who come outside of India and come to India. They make money and they earn in India. They are also required to pay taxes in India. So here we have two philosophies, and India goes for a hybrid. So, do you know America? What America do? Let me tell you one thing. पूरी दुनिया एक तरफ और हर बार अमेरिका एक तरफ रहता है. अगर कुछ दुनिया X करती है ना, तो अमेरिका हमेशा Y करता है. So what America came up with? America came up with a global taxation for their citizens. So in America, taxation is not based on their citizenship. It's not based on their residentship. Like India, we have criteria of 182 days or 60 days and 365 days. America का फंडा clear है. If you are a citizen of India, citizen of America, you'll have to pay taxes in America. So that means if you are a green card holder of America and if you don't stay in America even for a single day, आप 4 साल से इंडिया में आके बैठे हो बट आपके पास अभी भी ग्रीन कार्ड है और आपने उसको सरेंडर नहीं किया है, still America is the one who will make you pay taxes on the income earned by you in India. So this is few philosophies of taxation. Now as I said, India follows a hybrid philosophy of taxation. वहाँ हमारी ये है कि हम रेसिडेंट को ग्लोबल इनकम पे तो टैक्स करेंगे, बट अगर कोई बाहर का आके अगर इंडिया में पैसे कमाता है ना, तो हम उनको भी छोड़ेंगे नहीं, हम उनको भी टैक्स लगाएंगे. That's the reason it is important to understand the confluence of Indian Income Tax Act vis-a-vis domestic tax avoidance agreement as well as the legislations of the other country, because every country has their own set of laws. Now, coming back to section 5. सेक्शन 5 में हमें एक चीज समझ में आ गई कि दो अलग अलग क्राइटेरिया है. रेसिडेंट का ये लोग बोल रहे हैं कि हम पूरी ग्लोबल इनकम पे टैक्स करेंगे, और नॉन रेसिडेंट वालों को हम बोल रहे हैं कि आप जो इनकम इंडिया में कमाएंगे ये डीम टू अक्रूर अराइज इन इंडिया, इसी पे हम टैक्स लगाएंगे. तो देन द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय रेसिडेंट? सो द वर्ड रेसिडेंट is defined in section 6. Now we have learned this in IPCC and we have also learned this in CA final. तो मैं इसके अंदर बहुत डिटेल में जाके अपना समय नहीं करूंगा. I'll just take you quickly through it. There are two conditions. It says 182 days or more, or 60 days in the current year, or 365 days in the preceding 4 years. This is two basic condition. अगर आप इसमें से एक कंडीशन भी फॉलो करते हो तो you are a resident in India. Then there was a lot of hue and cry from the people is like, what if I'm going outside India for an employment outside India? In that case, the act also provide a leeway for them. It's like that if you are going outside India for employment outside India, if you're going on a ship outside India, in that case, you only need to satisfy first condition, that is 182 days. Now, as we know that India, there are many Indians who stay abroad in UK and USA. So they frequently visit to India. They have some business interests, they have some family in India. So for them, the second condition of 60 days was somehow like a panic here. So what government said, okay, we will also provide for you. Government ने क्या बोला? Act क्या बोलता है? Every citizen of India or a person of an Indian origin, if he visits India, जो सेकंड कंडीशन थी ना 60 और 365 दिन वाली, ये 60 डे की कंडीशन को ना हम आपको 182 डेज कर देते हैं. दैट मींस इन सब्सटेंस यू ओनली नीड टू फॉलो द फर्स्ट कंडीशन. So it happened. Now people started misusing it. Now people started planning their affairs in such a way is like कि मैं इंडिया में बराबर 180 दिन ही रहूंगा, मैं बिजनेस पूरा इंडिया से करूंगा, सब इंडिया से करूंगा, लेकिन 180 दिन के पहले मैं इंडिया से बाहर चले जाऊंगा. Once they go outside India, the only income which can be taxable is the income which is earned in India, or income which is earned outside but derived from the source of business which is in India or from the profession set up in India. तो ये उस टाइम पे बहुत फ्रीक्वेंटली होने लग गया था कि लोग इस तरीके से अपना प्लान करते थे कि वो आधा टाइम इंडिया के बाहर रहने लग गए थे. The very good example of this is Vijay Mallya. Vijay Mallya was a non-resident in India since 1996. He had a residency of UK. So ऐसा नहीं कि 2012 में जब वो भागा जो आगे उसने वहां जाके रेसिडेंटशिप किया, नहीं. He already had a resident permit of UK. So government was like, boss, ये नहीं चलेगा. This kind of tax planning will not be allowed. So by Finance Act 2020, they came up with a new explanation. They says, if your income from other than the income from the foreign source is more than 15 lakh, तो ये जो second criteria है ना 182 days का, ये हम कम करके 120 days कर देंगे. That means henceforth you can stay in India for only 119 days. तो ये है पहला अमेंडमेंट जो आया है. पहला अमेंडमेंट क्या बोलता है कि अगर कोई बाहर का सिटीजन या पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन अगर इंडिया विजिट करता है और अगर उसकी इनकम फ्रॉम अदर देन द फॉरेन सोर्स ऑफ इनकम इज मोर देन 15 लाख रुपीस, then he can stay in India for only 119 days. The moment he stayed for 120 days, then he will be considered as a resident in India. Right? तो ये एक पहला उन्होंने अमेंडमेंट करा है सेक्शन. Now, second amendment which they also made in a section is section 61A, जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं sections of nomads, या also a section of a stateless person. अब क्या हो रहा था कि इंडिया के लॉज इतने फ्लेक्सिबल है, तो बहुत सारे लोग क्या करते थे, ये 182 डेज का नहीं क्या, they used to misuse it. Or they used to misuse it is like they'll stay in India for 180 days, उसके बाद में वो 30 दिन मॉरिशस जाके रहेंगे, उसके बाद में वो 30 दिन केमन आइलैंड चले जाएंगे, 30 दिन वो लोग अमेरिका चले जाएंगे, 30 दिन लंदन चले जाएंगे, and they'll plan their entire affairs in such a fashion कि they are not resident in any country. So they are not resident in any country. यूएस वालों का तो ठीक है, उनका बोलना है कि अगर आपके पास ग्रीन कार्ड है तो हम आपकी हर जगह की इनकम को टैक्स करेंगे. Then India was like कि अगर यूएस कर सकता है तो फिर ये हम क्यों नहीं कर रहा. Therefore, in Finance Act 2020, Finance Act 2020, government inserted a new section, rather a legislature inserted a new section, that is section 61A. 61A क्या बोलता है, ठीक है, if by the virtue of domicile or residence or any other similar criteria, अगर आप कोई और कंट्री में अगर रेसिडेंट नहीं बन रहे हो ना, और अगर आपकी इनकम from other than foreign source is more than 15 lakh rupees, तो हम आपको deemed resident in India मानेंगे. इंडिया वालों ने क्या बोला कि अगर आप कोई और कंट्री के रेसिडेंट नहीं हो, या फिर आप ऐसे कंट्री के रेसिडेंट हो जहाँ पे कोई टैक्सेस ही नहीं है, जैसे आप केमन आइलैंड में जाके बैठे हो, जहाँ पे आपको कोई टैक्सेस ही पे नहीं करना है, तो इन दैट इवेंट अगर आपकी इंडियन इनकम, दैट इज इनकम अदर देन इनकम फ्रॉम फॉरेन सोर्स, अगर 15 लाख से ज्यादा है तो हम आपको डीम्ड रेसिडेंट मानेंगे और आपको इंडिया में टैक्स देना रहेगा. जैसे ये सेक्शन आया, देयर वाज अ लॉट ऑफ ह्यू एंड क्राई इन द मार्केट. बहुत सारे लोग जो यूएई में रहते हैं, आपको पता है यूएई हो गया, साउथ गल्फ में काफी इंडियंस रहते हैं, गल्फ कंट्रीज में, वहां पे इनकम टैक्स नहीं है. सो देन एवरीवन वाज लाइक, यार ये सब केस में क्या हो गया, हम लोग भी डीम्ड रेसिडेंट हो गए, अब हमारे को हमारी यूएई की इनकम पे भी इंडिया वाले टैक्स देंगे. That time government clarified them कि look here what we wish to tax is income other than income from foreign source. तो उन्होंने क्या डिफाइन किया, अगर आपकी इंडिया में कोई इनकम है तो हमारे को वो इनकम पे टैक्स देने में इंटरेस्ट है, और इफ यू आर अर्निंग सम इनकम आउटसाइड इंडिया फ्रॉम अ बिजनेस व्हिच इज कंट्रोल्ड इन इंडिया, और from a profession which is controlled in India, वो अगर आपकी 15 लाख आती है तो हमारे को सिर्फ उतना इनकम पे आपसे टैक्स लेने का है. Indian government made it clear to one and everyone that we are not interested in taxing your foreign income. But if you earn something outside India by the virtue of profession set up in India or from business control in India, तो उसके ऊपर हमें टैक्स लेना है. Now, what do you mean by a business control in India or a profession set up in India? बहुत simple example देता हूँ. We all know about Harish Salve. इनका reference सर ने भी लिया था. Harish Salve is a chartered accountant and he is also a lawyer. And as on date, he is India's topmost lawyer. हम वोडाफोन केस डिस्कस करेंगे. वहाँ पे जो लॉयर जिसने आर्ग्यू किया था, he is Mr. Harish Salve. कुलभूषण जाधव के लिए जिसने ICJ में आर्ग्यू किया था, again he is the same man. So मेरा एग्जांपल है हरीश साल्वे जी का. You know, Harish Salve is also a non-resident. He is, even though he is a lawyer, उनके पास बार काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया का लाइसेंस है, but still he stays in UK, लंदन, और उनके पास वहाँ की रेसिडेंसशिप भी है. But government says it's okay if you stay outside India. It's okay if you don't come to India even for one day. But then if you have a profession set up in India, अगर आपके पास में इंडिया का ICI का मेंबरशिप है, या फिर अगर आपके पास में बार काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया या फिर कोई भी आर्किटेक्चरल जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, अगर आपके पास अगर उनके लाइसेंस है, एंड यू आर अर्निंग सम इनकम बैक देयर इन यूके बाय द वर्च्यू ऑफ दिस लाइसेंस, देन यू नीड टू पे टैक्सेस इन इंडिया. डू यू रिमेंबर जस्ट अभी एक महीने पहले भी बहुत बड़ा डिस्प्यूट हुआ है इंडिया में. इट वाज बिटवीन रिलायंस इंडस्ट्रीज एंड अमेज़न. It was regarding the Future Group, which was purchased by the Reliance. In this case, the matter was argued before the Supreme Court, and then the argument was related to some proceedings of arbitration. अब वो जो hearing हुई थी ना Supreme Court की, वो hearing हुई थी online hearing, जिसके अंदर हरीश साल्वे जी लंदन में बैठे थे और वो वहां से argue कर रहे थे. So Harish Salve ji was not a resident in India. But then he was earning some income back there in UK by virtue of his profession, which is set up in India. तो इंडिया वाले क्या बोलते हैं, भले ही आपको Amazon UK ने या फिर आपको किसी और ने आपको बाहर के बाहर पैसा UK में दिया है, nothing doing, you pay taxes in India because your profession is set up in India. So that is the depth of this section. ये सेक्शन वो सब लोगों को पकड़ना चाह रहा है जो इंडिया से सब पढ़ लिख के गए हैं, सब सीखे हैं, और इंडिया के बाहर किसी टैक्स हेवन में जाके बैठे हैं जहां से वो लोग अपनी कंसल्टेंसी दे रहे हैं. सो टुमारो इफ यू बिकम अ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट एंड यू एक्वायर अ वेरी गुड नॉलेज इन टैक्सेशन एंड देन यू गो टू दुबई एंड यू से कि यार दुबई में बहुत सारे इंडियंस है, मैं यहाँ बैठ के इनको NRI टैक्स कंसल्टेंसी दूंगा, यहाँ बैठ के मैं इनको इंडिया के टैक्स अफेयर्स कैसे मैनेज करना है, प्रॉपर्टी कैसे मैनेज करना दूंगा. गवर्नमेंट सेज दैट इवन दैट इनकम is because of your profession set up in India, and the government want tax on that income. So this Finance Act 2020 has brought in a very unique concept which is in the line of the concept of the US green card. हमने भी concept लेके आ गए इंडिया में teamed residency, या बोलते हैं stateless person को tax करने के. Now in between I think I've missed a topic regarding resident but ordinary resident but not ordinary resident. Now, as far as individuals are concerned, they'll become a resident in India if they stayed in India for 182 days or more, or they were in India for 60 days or more in the current year and 65 more days or more in the preceding 4 years. The Act says that if you are a resident and if you are also ordinarily resident, only then you need to pay taxes on your global income. इसका मतलब अगर कोई रेसिडेंट है जैसे हरीश साल्वे जी, हरीश साल्वे इज रॉन्ग एग्जांपल बिकॉज़ ही इज नॉट अ रेसिडेंट, राइट, बट अ हाइपोथेटिकल सिनेरियो, हरीश साल्वे जी इंडिया में आए, इंडिया में आके वो 182 डेज के ऊपर है, नाउ ही बिकेम अ रेसिडेंट इन इंडिया. बट इफ वी सी the another criteria of resident but ordinary resident is that, or rather resident but ordinary resident is like he should be resident in India for at least 2 years and 10 years, and he should be in India for more than 730 days. अगर ये क्राइटेरिया अगर उनकी फुलफिल हो जाती है तो ही विल बिकम अ रेसिडेंट एज वेल एज एन ऑर्डिनरी रेसिडेंट, तो उनकी पूरी ग्लोबल इनकम पे इंडिया टैक्स करेगा. So even if he's arguing some case back there in Netherlands court, which pertains to dispute between the Netherlands government and the US government, still Indian government will have a stake. Indian government can say कि आप इंडिया में आके टैक्स करो because you are an ordinary resident. But by virtue of section 6, he becomes a resident. But the second criteria है which is given in subsection 6, वो इंडिया में पिछले 10 साल में 2 साल से कम रेसिडेंट है. Like he was non-resident for 9 years, or he was in India for less than 729 days in preceding 7 years, then he'll be an ordinary resident. तो इंडिया वाले क्या बोलेंगे कि ठीक है आप बाहर जो भी इनकम कमा रहे हैं हमारे को उससे लेना देना नहीं है. बट आपने वो जो केस में कमाया था ना रिलायंस वाले और अमेजोन वाले, इनकम विच यू हैव अर्न फ्रॉम द प्रोफेशन सेटअप इन इंडिया, आप इसके ऊपर में चुपचाप इंडिया में टैक्स पे करें. So this is the concept of resident but ordinary resident, resident but not ordinary resident. Ordinary resident, right? Now coming back, this is what I have explained about the residents, specifically individual resident. बहुत बार कोर्ट में ऐसी केसेस आती है कि मैं रात को मिडनाइट में इंडिया में आया हूँ 12 बजे के बाद में, whether this day will be considered in calculating my stay of 1 or 2 days. Then again we have a multiple judgment, but मुंबई ट्रिब्यूनल का बहुत अच्छा जजमेंट है जो बोलता है कि अगर आप 12 बजे के बाद में आ रहे हो तो हम वो दिन इंडिया में नहीं गिनेंगे. फिर एक दूसरा कंट्रोवर्सी था कि मैं इंडिया में जिस दिन आया और मैं इंडिया के बाहर जिस दिन निकला, क्या हम दोनों भी दिन 182 डेज में क्लियर करेंगे, पकड़ेंगे. अगेन वी हैव अ ट्रिब्यूनल which came to the rescue of the taxpayer and says कि नहीं, आप कोई भी एक दिन पकड़िए, आप आए हो वो दिन पकड़िए, या आप जिस दिन इंडिया छोड़ के जा रहे हो अब वो दिन पकड़िए. और यही सेम इश्यूज पे काफी सारे और कंट्रोवर्सीज थे जिसको डिपार्टमेंट ने बहुत अच्छी तरीके से एड्रेस किया है. अब एज ए सेट हमारी पहली फिलोसॉफी पे अगर हम जाते हैं तो हमारी पहली फिलोसॉफी क्या बोलती है कि इफ अ पर्सन इज रेसिडेंट इन द इंडिया ही विल बी टैक्सेबल इन इंडिया. इंडिया का क्या क्राइटेरिया है 182 डेज. If we see the criteria of some other country like Norway or Sweden, Norway और Sweden क्या बोलता है कि अगर आप हमारे कंट्री में 90 डेज रहते हैं ना तो we will treat you as a resident of the country. इंडिया वाले 180 दिन दिया है, स्वीडन वाले बोल रहे हैं 90 डेज. So it can happen that I stay in India for 182 days, more than 182 days, मैं यहाँ रेसिडेंट बन गया हूँ. फिर मैं नॉर्वे गया, नॉर्वे में मैं 90 दिन रहा, वहाँ रह के भी मैं रेसिडेंट बन गया. और इन बिटवीन मेरे पास आई एम अ सिटीजन ऑफ यूएसए, तो मेरे पास तो ग्रीन कार्ड भी है. तो साइमल्टेनियसली ऐसा हो गया कि अब 3 कंट्रीज बोल रही है कि हम तुम्हारे को टैक्स करना चाहेंगे. इंडिया, तो इंडिया का क्लेम गलत नहीं. इंडिया का क्लेम क्या है कि भाई हमारा आयड बोलता है 182 डेज आप यहाँ रहे हो. नॉर्वे वाले बोलते हैं कि आप 90 दिन के ऊपर रहे तो आप नॉर्वे में दो. और यूएस वाले तो अपना बता रहे हैं कि भाई आपके पास ग्रीन कार्ड है, आप मेरे यहाँ भले एक दिन भी नहीं आते हो बट मैं तो आप पे टैक्स दूंगा. तो in such circumstances, when there is a dispute regarding residence, की कौन टैक्स लेगा, अगर तीनों भी टैक्स लेगा तो at the end of the day मुझे क्या बचेगा. To give a leeway or to address this problem, there is a double taxation avoidance agreement. डबल टैक्सेशन अवॉइडेंस एग्रीमेंट, इसको हम टैक्स ट्रीटी भी बोलते हैं. अभी टैक्स ट्रीटी क्या रहती है? टैक्स ट्रीटी इज एन अंडरस्टैंडिंग बिटवीन द टू कंट्रीज. इंटरनेशनल टैक्सेशन में we generally don't use the word country, we use the word jurisdiction, right? So it is an agreement between the two jurisdiction. It says कि अगर कोई सिनारियो में अगर आपका सिटीजन आपके यहाँ पे भी रेसिडेंट है और हमारे यहाँ पे भी रेसिडेंट है, in that case we will apply a tie breaker rule. We'll apply a tie breaker rule. तो हम डिसाइड करेंगे कि भाई इसको कहाँ रेसिडेंस. तो ठीक है, इंडिया और नॉर्वे वाले साथ में आए और उन्होंने देखना चालू किया. हरीश साल्वे का अपन एग्जांपल लेते हैं. हरीश साल्वे इंडिया एंड यूके का एग्जांपल, राइट? हरीश साल्वे इज अ रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया क्योंकि वो इंडिया में 182 डेज थे, एंड इज आल्सो अ रेसिडेंट ऑफ यूके बिकॉज ही वाज देयर फॉर पीरियड मोर देन द स्पेसिफाइड पीरियड. तो बोलते कि यार ये तो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो गया. देन कम्स अ टाई ब्रेकर. which is given in Article 4 of Model Convention, और मोस्टली सब ट्रीटीज में सेम आर्टिकल 4 ही रहे। इससे कि फिर हम देखेंगे कि भाई हरीश साल्वे जी का परमानेंट होम कहाँ पे है। तो हरीश साल्वे जी का परमानेंट होम एक साउथ मुंबई में भी है और वहाँ पे लंदन में एक मेफेयर में भी है। बोले कि ठीक है, यहाँ से डिसाइड नहीं हुआ। देन देयर गो टू सेकंड कि हरीश साल्वे जी का पर्सनल एंड इकोनॉमिक रिलेशनशिप ज्यादा कहाँ पे देखा गया। तो हरीश साल्वे की एक वाइफ इंडिया में भी है, हरीश साल्वे जी की एक वाइफ, आई होप यू ऑल नो दिस, हरीश साल्वे जी ने भी एक और शादी करी जिनकी वाइफ लंदन में है। सो ही हैज अ पर्सनल रिलेशंस इन लंदन। इकोनॉमिक, हरीश साल्वे जी की इंडिया में भी बिजनेस है, इंडिया में भी प्रैक्टिस है। अगेन हरीश साल्वे इज ऑल्सो एनरोल्ड विद बार काउंसिल ऑफ लंदन, ही इज अ क्वीन काउंसिल देयर। तो अगेन यहाँ पे भी डिसाइड नहीं हुआ। फिर थर्ड क्राइटेरिया वो देखते कि वेयर इज द हैबिचुअल अबोर्ड ऑफ हरीश साल्वे। तो साल्वे जी का काफी बार वो इंडिया में आते, बड़े बड़े हाईस्टेक मैटर आर्ग्यू करते, तो वो इंडिया में भी रहते हैं। कई बार वो इंडिया के बाहर भी रहते हैं, यूके में भी वो रहते हैं, दोनों कोर्ट्स में वो आर्ग्यू करते हैं। थर्ड क्राइटेरिया भी हमारा फेल हो गया। देन वी गो टू फोर्थ क्राइटेरिया, नेशनलिटी। नाउ नेशनलिटी इज समथिंग व्हाट वी से इज कि नेशनल कहाँ का है। Harish Salve is a national of India, right? He is a citizen of India. Okay, now he has given a citizenship and now he has taken a citizenship of UK. So he has become a citizenship of UK. It's a different issue. But then nationality, he was an Indian national. So in that event, they'll say कि okay भाई ये national India का है, तो हम इसको India में resident मानेंगे और अब UK वाले इसको resident नहीं मानेंगे, राइट? और अगर एक आदमी की दोनों भी जगह की नेशनलिटी है या उसकी कहाँ की नेशनलिटी है पता नहीं चल रहा, तो दोनों कंट्री के जो टैक्स ऑफिसर्स है वो साथ में बैठेंगे एंड म्यूचुअल अग्रीमेंट प्रोसीजर से वो डिसाइड करेंगे कि भाई तू टैक्स करेगा कि मैं टैक्स करूं। सो दिस इज अ सिनेरियो व्हिच कम्स इनटू अ प्ले व्हेन देयर इज अ डिस्प्यूट रिगार्डिंग द रेसिडेंसी और व्हेन देयर इज अ ड्यूअल रेसिडेंसी। आई होप आई एम क्लियर अबाउट द रेसिडेंशियल स्टेटस ऑफ एन इंडिविजुअल। हमने बेसिक क्राइटेरिया देखे, हमने इसके अंदर में 2 अमेंडमेंट्स देखे जिसमें 182 डेज से गिरा के 120 डेज हुआ है, जिसमें 15 लाख रुपए का थ्रेशोल्ड है। थ्रेशोल्ड क्या है? इनकम अदर देन फॉरेन इनकम। हमने ये भी पढ़ा कि इनकम अदर देन फॉरेन इनकम मींस आप जो इनकम इंडिया में कमा रहे हो या आप इनकम जो फॉरेन में कमा रहे हो, बट देन इट इज रिलेटेड टू बिजनेस सेटअप इन इंडिया और प्रोफेशन कंट्रोल इन इंडिया। ये हमने क्राइटेरिया देखा। उसके बाद में हमने नेक्स्ट क्राइटेरिया देखा है डीम्ड रेसिडेंसी की, और फिर हमने अभी थर्ड क्राइटेरिया देखा कि अगर एक आदमी अगर 2 कंट्री का रेसिडेंट बन जाता है तो वो केस में हम क्या करेंगे। हम लोग टाई ब्रेकर रूल लगाएंगे। जैसे होता है ना क्रिकेट मैच में, अगर दोनों भी टीम ने सेम स्कोर बना दिया तो एक सुपर ओवर होती है, वैसे ही इंटरनेशनल टैक्सेशन में सुपर ओवर की जगह पे टाई ब्रेकर होता है। भाई ये देख लो परमानेंट होम कहाँ है, ये सब देख लो, एंड उससे डिसाइड होगा कि फाइनली कौन सी कंट्री उसको टैक्स करेगी। So this was all about residential status of an individual. Now coming to the residential status of a company, what section 6 subsection 2 says, every Indian company will be treated as a resident in India, and every foreign company, if its place of effective management is situated in India, if its place of effective management is situated in India, it will be treated as a resident in India. OM को लेके बहुत डिटेल गाइडलाइंस सीबीडीटी ने लाई है। इसके अंदर में काफी सारे क्राइटेरिया है कि आपके एम्प्लॉइज कितने रहना चाहिए, आपका सैलरी कितना रहना चाहिए, कितने % रहना चाहिए। सो अगेन इट्स वेरी डिटेल्ड सर्कुलर, यू कैन इजीली गो थ्रू इट। बट सम एंड सब्सटेंस की इसके अंदर में आएगी, सम एंड सब्सटेंस ऑफ पोएम इज दैट द गवर्नमेंट वांट्स टू सी वेदर द की मैनेजरियल डिसीजन and commercial decisions are taken in India. If a foreign company say, okay, a very good example of this, Flipkart. Do we all know Flipkart is registered in Singapore? Flipkart is not an Indian company. Flipkart is registered in Singapore, right? But control and management of Flipkart is in India. Their entire team, they're all top managerial persons, they all are sitting in India. So what it says, if your key managerial and commercial decisions are taken in India, irrespective of fact आप कहाँ incorporated हो यार आपका head office कहाँ है, but then it will be treated as a resident in India. You'll find this very frequently in the companies which are registered in Mauritius, companies which are registered in a Cayman Island, company which are registered in a British Virgin, British Virgin, or any other such islands which are tax havens. Right? Now, moving ahead, this was section 6.2. Then we have other kind of firm, AOP, and other association. It says that if the management, they have used the right word, if the control and the management of the firm is wholly situated outside India, then Indian government will not treat that partnership firm as a resident in India. But then if there is some partnership firm which is registered in London, but then its control and management is partly in India, so Indian government says, look, we will tax it as a resident in India. Moment a partnership firm or moment a company becomes a resident in India, mind it, their entire global income will be taxable in India. Their entire global income will be taxable in India. Then we have an HUF. HUF ka agar woi manager, if a manager is situated in India, then it will be treated as a resident in India. So these were all 6 to 5 clause. 6 is again resident but ordinary resident, जिसको हमने already डिटेल में डिस्कस किया है. एक इसमें एक इम्पोर्टेंट चीज जो आई है फाइनेंस एक्ट 2020 से सेक्शन 6 सब सेक्शन 6 में ऑर्डिनरी रेसिडेंट में इट सेज कि अगर कोई स्टेटलेस पर्सन है, ठीक है, हम इनको रेसिडेंट मानेंगे, हम इनको डीम्ड रेसिडेंट मानेंगे, बट देन वी विल ट्रीट देम एज ए नॉट ऑर्डिनरी रेसिडेंट. ठीक है, अगर आप बाहर कुछ कमा रहे हो तो ये आप जानो, इंडियन इनकम है और रिलेटेड टू प्रोफेशन और बिजनेस इन इंडिया है तो आप इंडिया में पे करो. सो दिस इज वन बिग रिलीफ गिवन बाय इंडियन गवर्नमेंट टू द स्टेटलेस पर्सन या फिर जिनको हम डीम्ड रेसिडेंट इन इंडिया मानते हैं. ये सेम क्राइटेरिया उनके लिए भी है जो सिटीजन ऑफ, जो इंडियन सिटीजन और पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन हु कम्स टू इंडिया, जिनका क्राइटेरिया हमने देखा था 182 डेज से कम होके 120 डेज कर दिया है. So if a person become a resident in India, if a citizen or a person of Indian origin become a resident in India by the virtue of this new amendment, wherein his income from the other than foreign source of income is 15 lakh rupees, then he'll be considered as a resident, but he'll be considered as a not ordinary resident. That means Harish Salveji, he's a deemed resident, but then he's again a not ordinary resident. कई बार सोचते नहीं है क्या है ऑर्डिनरी नॉट ऑर्डिनरी रेसिडेंट, इतना क्या फर्क पड़ता है, 30% टैक्सेस के लिए हम ये सब क्या टाइम पास कर रहे हैं. क्वेश्चन इज दैट द बेसिक रिप्लाई टू दिस लाइक अ पर्सन हु इज रेसिडेंट इन इंडिया, he is mandated to disclose all his foreign assets, right? So a person like let's say a Jiten bhai will have to disclose all his foreign assets. So even if he's having some home in London, he will have a home in the UK. If he is a resident and an ordinary resident, he'll have to disclose all his foreign assets in India. That's the reason we generally see those who are not resident, they are quite averse of coming back to India or India में going to rescue person. If no one is interested in becoming a resident and ordinary resident in India. This is all about residential status. Now, one more thing which I like to add before going to section 9. It is about double taxation avoidance agreement. Now, when a country has a double taxation avoidance agreement, say for an example, India has a double taxation avoidance agreement with United States of America. So, a person from a United States of India, as I've already said, they tax people on the basis of their citizenship and not residentship. So they tax people on the basis of their green card. तो एक यूएस का एक रेसिडेंट है, यूएस का एक सिटीजन है जो लास्ट 6 साल से इंडिया में रह रहा है. 6 साल से इंडिया में रह रहा है, इंडिया में ही उसने बिजनेस डाला, इंडिया में ही उसने पैसे कमाए, बट देन ही हैज नॉट सरेंडर हिज ग्रीन कार्ड। इन दैट इवेंट इंडिया वाले तो वो इनकम को टैक्स करेंगे ही करेंगे, बिकॉज ही इज अ रेसिडेंट इन इंडिया। अमेरिका विल ऑल्सो ट्राई टू टैक्स इट बिकॉज ही इज अ सिटीजन ऑफ इंडिया। फिर दोनों कंट्री ने बैठ के इसको टाई ब्रेकर रूल लगाया और वो रूल में डिसाइड होगा कि नहीं नहीं नहीं, he is permanently staying in India, he has an habitual abode in India, he has wife in India, he has family in India. ये डिसाइड हो गया कि ये इंडिया का रेसिडेंट है। So what America will do is like, it's okay, you pay taxes in India, but then you also disclose this income in America. So whatever taxes you have paid in India, we will give you credit of those taxes in America, and only additional taxes, if any, which can be levied, will only be levied on you. That means अमेरिका वाले इंडिया को राइट दे देंगे टैक्सेशन का, इंडिया टैक्स कर लेगा, अमेरिका में जाके उसको इनकम अपने रिटर्न में दिखाना है और उसका इंडिया में जो टैक्सेस पे किया है उसका क्रेडिट लेना है। अगर इंडिया ने कोई इनकम पे अगर 20% टैक्स पे किया है और वो ही सेम इनकम अगर यूएसए 30% पे टैक्स करता है, इन दैट इवेंट ही विल हैव टू पे a differential amount of a tax in United States of America. That's the reason we have double tax avoidance agreements. Agreements क्या बोलते हैं कि we don't want to tax any income twice. We really appreciate and we want people to go from one country to another country, to go into a globalized world. तो आप जो इनकम अगर इंडिया में कमा रहे हैं तो आप यहाँ पे सिर्फ डिस्क्लोज कर दीजिए और उसके ऊपर आपको जो भी टैक्स आता है इंडिया में आप पे कर रहे हैं आपको क्रेडिट दे देंगे। So this was the basic purpose of bringing double taxation avoidance agreement. Now we have read about section 5. We have read about कि क्या इनकम इंडिया में टैक्स होगी, क्या इनकम इंडिया में टैक्स नहीं होगी। एक इनकम जो इंडिया में रेसिडेंट के लिए भी होगी और नॉन रेसिडेंट के लिए भी होगी, that is income deemed to accrue or arise in India. Income deemed to accrue or arise in India, and it is given in section 9. Again, I am going back to basic. इसमें क्या वर्ड लिखा है इन्होंने, इनकम डीम्ड टू अक्रू और अराइज इन इंडिया, मतलब ये इनकम इंडिया की नहीं है, पर इंडिया वाले बोल रहे हैं कि भाई भली हमारी नहीं है, बट देन वी वांट टू टैक्स दिस इनकम इन इंडिया. That's the reason we all have deeming fiction in section 9. So talking about section 9 and talking about practicing in international taxation field, जो सेक्शन 9 है ना, ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट सेक्शन है इंटरनेशनल टैक्सेशन के अंदर से. इफ यू वांट टू प्रैक्टिस इन द इनकम टैक्स एक्ट, इनकम टैक्स में जितने एक्ट्स है ना, आपको उसका एक बेसिक नॉलेज तो भी लगेगा. कितने सेक्शंस हैं इनकम टैक्स एक्ट में? कैन एनीवन गिव मी एन आंसर? देयर हाउ मेनी सेक्शंस इन द इनकम टैक्स एक्ट? In income tax act there are total 298 sections. So tomorrow after becoming a chartered accountant, you are like कि मुझे इनकम टैक्स में प्रैक्टिस करना है, डोमेस्टिक टैक्स में प्रैक्टिस करना है, बिलीव मी आपको 298 सेक्शंस के बारे में बेसिक नॉलेज तो भी रहना चाहिए. बट इफ यू सेज कि मुझे इंटरनेशनल टैक्सेशन में काम करना है, देन आपको सिर्फ 6-7 सेक्शन ही है जो आपको ध्यान से पढ़ना है. सेक्शन 5, सेक्शन 9, then you have section 90 and section 91, then you also have section 92. 90 DTAA की बात करता है, 91 वो सारे सर्कमस्टेंसेस की बात करता है जहाँ पे हमारा डबल टैक्स अवॉइडेंस एग्रीमेंट नहीं है. We talk about unilateral tax effect, right? Section again 92 to 92A and 92AF talks about transfer pricing, again amazing field to practice in. And then we have section 115A and all those जो आपको टैक्स रेट बताते हैं. But the very basic of the international taxation is section 9. तो अगर आपको section 9 समझ गया ना, believe me, आपको international taxation में एक अच्छा करियर बनाने से कोई रोक नहीं सकता. देखिए टैक्स रेट्स क्या चल रहे हैं, ठीक है, उसमें 82 डेज, 60 डेज, 19 डेज, ये सब चीजें ना बहुत टेक्निकल है. ये कभी जब भी आपके पास क्लाइंट आएगा, you can open your act and you can check all these technical stuff. But basically, you need to understand the very concept as to which income will be taxed in India, or which income will you say has deemed to accrue or arise in India. अब हम सेक्शन 9 की बात करते हैं ना, Section 9 subsection 1, it lays down 8 such income wherein it says कि अगर ये आपकी 8 में से अगर कोई भी इनकम है ना, तो हम ये इनकम को, भले ही आप इनकम बाहर कमाओ, भले ही आपको पेमेंट बाहर हो रहा है, ये इनकम को हम इंडियन इनकम मानेंगे, ये इनकम को हम इंडियन इनकम मानेंगे। तो सेक्शन 9 सबसेक्शन 1 सब क्लॉज 1 ये क्या बोलता है? Any income accruing or arising, whether directly or indirectly from any business connection in India, or through or from any property in India, through or from any asset or source of income in India, through or from the transfer of a capital asset situated in India. Sir, ये जो सेक्शन है ना, सेक्शन 9(1), इंटरनेशनल टैक्सेशन के 30% डिस्प्यूट सिर्फ ये सेक्शंस पे, ये क्लॉज पे ही रहे। Because look, the word they have used is income from any business connection in India. Now, what do you mean by a business connection in India? Whether it is defined in the Income Tax Act? नहीं, ये Income Tax Act में defined नहीं है। तो ये business connection क्या है? What is? मैं इंडिया में अगर कोई बाहर से माल बेच रहा हूँ, for an example, I'll give you an example of a Rolls Royce. There is a customer situated in India, for an example. If we talk about Jiten Bhai. Jiten Bhai tomorrow places an order for purchase of a Rolls-Royce Phantom from Rolls-Royce UK. Now Rolls-Royce has sold that, Rolls-Royce UK has sold that Phantom car to Jiten Bhai. Can we say a Rolls-Royce has a business connection in India और उन्होंने जो भी प्रॉफिट कमाया है ये कार इंडिया पे बेचने के लिए इंडिया में पे कर? The answer is no. Look, business connection समझने के लिए ना, एक मेरे जो सीनियर थे वो हमेशा मुझे थंब रूल बताते थे, and I'll share this secret with you. ये बहुत कम लोगों को पता है। अगर आपको business connection समझना है ना, तो एक बहुत बेसिक चीज आपको समझना चाहिए। There are 2 things. Business with India and business in India. I am repeating. My senior was a retired commissioner of income tax and he was a lawyer. So after I completed my chartered accountant, my CA studies, I worked with him for 3 years. मैं उनका बैग लेके जाता था, उनको कोट पहनाता था, कोट में उनके बाजू में खड़े रहता था, and he used to just give me 5,000 rupees a month. But then he was a very learned man. And he was from the department and he was also a very, very good lawyer. So he told me one basic criteria, basic thumb rule. He says, Mahavir, business connection in क्या होगा? Look, 2 चीजें रहती है. Either you are doing business with India or you are doing business in India. If you are doing business with India, right, then it is not a business connection in India. But if you are doing business in India, then it will be a case of a business connection in India. वापस चलते हैं हम जितेन भाई के एग्जाम्पल. I have time, right? Yes. वापस चलते हैं हम जितेन भाई के एग्जाम्पल. रोल्स रॉयस ने क्या किया? रोल्स रॉयस ने, जितेन भाई को रोल्स रॉयस का ब्रांड पता था. जितेन भाई ने रोल्स रॉयस यूके को ऑर्डर दिया और यूके ने इनको कार शिप करी. So they have done business with India. और एक इंडियन के साथ में रोल्स रॉयस ने बिजनेस किया. So we can say that they does not have a business connection in India. Now जितेन भाई ने ले लिए. Then उनको ध्यान में आया यार इंडिया में तो बहुत स्कोप है, इंडिया के चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स बहुत पैसा कमा रहे हैं, लॉयर्स बहुत पैसा कमा रहे हैं. So what they did was like they opened a showroom in Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore. So they opened a full-fledged Rolls-Royce showroom in India, जहाँ पे उनकी कार्स थी डिस्प्ले पे. One thing, जहाँ पे उनके सेल्समैन थे जो आप जाते थे कार्स के बारे में पूरा का पूरा समझाते थे. They had a good number of cars stocked in India. Now in that event, if I go to their showroom, I go there, I understand about their product, and if I buy from them, then it will not be a case of a business with India. या रोल्स रॉयस ने क्या देखा? रोल्स रॉयस ने इंडिया में एक अपॉर्चुनिटी देखी. रोल्स रॉयस ने इंडिया में एक शोरूम खोला, एक ब्रांच ऑफिस खोला. उन्होंने वहां पे अपनी कार डिस्प्ले पे रखी, राइट? वहां पे उनके सेल्समैन है जो बिजनेस ला रहे हैं, लोगों को मिल रहे हैं, लोगों को कार के बारे में बता रहे हैं. In that event, Rolls-Royce started doing business in India. So henceforth, any car which Rolls-Royce sells in India, or the profit which Rolls-Royce makes in India, will be taxable in India. Are you getting me? Are you getting me the difference between business with India and business in India? So, अगर आप इंडिया में एक ब्रांच ऑफिस खोल रहे हो, या इंडिया में आप शोरूम कर रहे हो, यू आर एंटरिंग द लैंड ऑफ इंडिया एंड यू आर ट्राइंग टू सॉलिसिट क्लाइंट, यू आर ट्राइंग टू कैनवास कस्टमर्स, देन इट विल बी ट्रीटेड एज यू आर डूइंग बिजनेस इन इंडिया. और एक बार अगर आप बिजनेस इन इंडिया करते हुए पाए गए, तो जो भी इनकम आप इंडिया में कमा रहे हो, इंडियंस आर लाइक वेरी स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड. आप रॉयल्स रॉयस बाहर जितना कमा रहे हो ना, हमारे को लेना देना नहीं है. अगर आप इंडिया में कुछ इनकम कमा रहे हो ना, मेरे यहाँ के लोगों को बेच के, तो आप मुझे टैक्स दो. सो इट इज दैट इनकम ओनली विच इज टैक्सेबल इन इंडिया. अगेन, जैसे मैंने बताया कि ये बहुत रिलेटिव डेफिनेशन है और इट वाज हाईली लिटिगेटेड. तो फिर एक बहुत लैंडमार्क जजमेंट आया विशाखा पोर्ट ट्रस्ट केस में, आंध्र प्रदेश हाईकोर्ट. इट वाज अ हाईकोर्ट जजमेंट which says if a foreign enterprise has a virtual projection in India, virtual projection का a business projection in India, अगर वो शोरूम खोल रहे हैं या इंडिया में अगर कुछ कर रहे हैं, तो it will be treated as they are doing business in India. तो जब धीरे धीरे कोर्ट्स ने ये स्टैंड लेना चालू किया, तो multinationals they always have a good chartered accountants, good lawyers behind them. They are like कि ठीक है, हम इंडिया में खुद नहीं जाएंगे. Rolls Royce said that we won't open a showroom in India. Live example I'll give you of Volkswagen. Volkswagen said, okay, हम इंडिया में नहीं जाएंगे. What they did was like they entered into an agreement with 10 Auto India. They are like कि आप हमारे इंडिया में एक सोल सेलिंग एजेंट है, हम आपको पूरी की पूरी कार यहाँ पे इंडिया में सप्लाई करेंगे और आप फिर इंडिया में इसको मार्केट करो और सब आप इसको बेचो. Then multinational came up with the second model, जिसको हम बोलते हैं एजेंसी मॉडल. उन्होंने क्या किया? They started keeping agents in India, जो उनका माल बेचते थे. They used to solicit business, they used to canvass customers. Then again, Section 9(1) was amended, and Section 9(1) was amended was says कि if a business is carried on by a non-resident, then they come up with an agency model, and they says कि अगर ठीक है, अगर रोल्स रॉयस का अगर इंडिया में कोई एजेंट है and he habitually exercise in India an authority to conclude contract on behalf of Volkswagen, he habitually conclude contracts on behalf of Volkswagen, or he habitually plays a principal role. मतलब चेहरा 10 ऑटो का है, बट इन सब्सटेंस जो सब कुछ हो रहा है ना, वो वोल्क्सवैगन का हो रहा है. यू हैव सीन इंडिया में वोल्क्सवैगन करके नहीं आता, इट्स लाइक वोल्क्सवैगन 10 ऑटो. अब उनके कोई भी शोरूम पे देखोगे तो वहां पे क्या लिखा रहता है? वोल्क्सवैगन 10 ऑटो, DAS 10 ऑटो. So then government says कि boss, nothing doing. If you are coming to in India and you are appointing a sole selling agent and he is doing all the transaction which you would have done, which practically you would have done in India, then even that agent we will consider as having a business connection in India. So what government says, ये 10 ऑटो ठीक है, इंडिया का कंसर्न है, इंडिया की कंपनी है, but then अब इसके थ्रू इंडिया में जो बिजनेस कर रहे हैं ना, that business will be treated as business in India and you'll have to pay taxes on it. So again, there is a concept of business in India, doing business with India, doing business through the agent in India, doing business through the agent in India. अब ये भी लॉज सब कैसे बहुत पुराने लॉज हो गए. अब देखेंगे तो आजकल हम पूरा का पूरा फेसबुक हो गया, यूट्यूब हो गया, इसके ऊपर आजकल ये लोग पूरी अपने एडवर्टाइजमेंट कर रहे हैं. Like Facebook does not have any virtual presence in India. Facebook does not have any virtual presence in India. But then look at it, tons of money they are taking out of India. Tons of money they are taking out of India. And Indian government is like, यार हमारे यहाँ का पैसा बाहर जा रहा है, हमारे लोगों की जेब का पैसा बाहर जा रहा है और हमारे को खुद कोई टैक्स नहीं मिल रहा है. Then the Indian government made Facebook to have a Facebook India in India. Facebook India as a step-down subsidiary in India. Like we also have a Twitter India subsidiary now. We also have a Google India subsidiary. Because nowadays the business models have changed. Nowadays you don't need to have a proper office. You can also do it online. But then if you do it online, these people will never have a business connection. So what government is doing, they're making sure that these entities get registered in India. ठीक है, ये बड़े कुछ लोग हैं, इन्होंने सुन लिया, बट जो छोटे छोटे लोग हैं, ग्रामरली हो गया, ऐसे कितने सारे एप्स हैं, they are minting money from India, but then they are not having. तो गवर्नमेंट ने उनके लिए इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी लेके आ गया, राइट. गूगल के लिए इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी का कंसेप्ट लेके आ गया. अगर आप इंडिया में अगर एडवर्टाइजमेंट बेच के पैसा कमा रहे हैं, then you have to pay taxes. So all in all, what Indian government is trying to say is like, we are not concerned about the money which you make outside. But if you're making some money, and that too from a business connection in India, thumb rule, business in India agar aap kar rahe ho, to make that income will be deemed to accrue or arise in India. This is the concept of business connection. Now section 9(1) का पहला लिंक हो गया है business connection. Second is through or from any property in India. That means, अगर एक non-resident है, right? He is having a bungalow in Nagpur and he is deriving some rent out of it, right? He is deriving some rent out of it. Then that rent, even though he receives in America or in any foreign countries, that income will be taxable in India. Section 9 क्या बोलता है, अगर आपकी property या asset या source of income अगर इंडिया में रहा, then irrespective of the fact कि आप कहाँ बैठे हो या आपको रेंट कहाँ मिल रहा है, ये हम इंडिया में इनकम करके टैक्स करेंगे. अगर आपका हमारे कंट्री के साथ में डबल टैक्सेशन अवॉइडेंस एग्रीमेंट है, तो आप यहाँ टैक्स पे कर दीजिए और अपने कंट्री में इनकम दिखा के इंडिया में जो टैक्सेस पे किया उसका क्रेडिट ले लीजिए. But the primary right to collect tax will be that of the country where the asset is located. Then we have the third one, which is through the transfer of capital asset situated in India. Through the transfer of capital asset situated in India. Which means if there is a foreign resident, he has a property which is situated in Bangalore. He has a property which is situated in Bangalore. Now he also has his one friend staying overseas with him. And that friend agreed कि ठीक है भाई तेरा इंडिया का जो फ्लैट है देखो जरूरत नहीं तो मुझे बेच. So what this foreign resident did, he sold that flat outside India to a non-resident. So this transaction was entered outside India. The consideration was also received outside India. But what section 9(1) subclause 1 says, section 9 subsection 1 subclause 1 says, if the property is situated in India, they'll have to pay taxes in India. They will have to pay taxes in India. तो ये है, इसके ऊपर आपको इंडिया में टैक्सेस पे करना रहेगा. अब इसके अंदर में एक दूसरा क्वेश्चन जो आ रहा है कि ठीक है भाई इंडिया में टैक्सेस पे कर रहे हैं, बट जो उसके फ्रेंड ने इंडिया में प्रॉपर्टी, जो फ्रेंड ने यूएस में प्रॉपर्टी खरीदी थी, क्या वो यूएस के फ्रेंड को ये प्रॉपर्टी में इंडिया में 195 में टैक्स काटना है? The answer is yes, because section 195 starts with notwithstanding anything contained in the any other provision of that any person. That means भले ही वो दो लोग बाहर के रहो, भले ही दो लोग नॉन रेसिडेंट के हो, बट अगर प्रॉपर्टी जो ट्रांजैक्ट हो रही है, if it is an Indian property, if it is an Indian asset, then TDS needs to be deducted under section 195. Then TDS needs to be deducted under section 195. And believe me, this is in the nutshell controversy of Vodafone. यही Vodafone की controversy थी. Let's directly get to the case of Vodafone. Now, Vodafone केस को समझने के लिए हम लोग कुछ एक बेसिक चीजें समझ लेते हैं. वोडाफोन के केस के लिए सबसे बेसिक है इंडियन कंपनी कौन सी थी? हचिसन एंड एसआर. द नेम ऑफ इंडियन कंपनी वाज हचिसन एंड एसआर. ये इंडियन कंपनी थी जिसके अंदर में 67% स्टेक था हच का. हचिसन टेलीकम्युनिकेशन इंटरनेशनल लिमिटेड is a company incorporated in Hong Kong. हच एक कंपनी हांगकांग की थी. एसआर एक इंडियन मल्टीनेशनल ग्रुप है शशि रुइया का. जस्ट फॉर योर रेफरेंस, ये काफी इट्स अ वेरी बिग कॉन्ग्लोमेरेट ऑफ इंडिया. शशि रुइया इज द ओनर ऑफ द एसआर ग्रुप. So Hutch wanted to start business in India. So they found a local partner in a form of a SR, Shashi Ruiyas. So they agreed कि ठीक है 67% stake हमारा रहेगा being a foreign entity and 33% stake Ruiyas का रहेगा, SR का रहेगा. But Hutch, while bringing this money to India, they don't came directly to India. What they did was like they incorporated a company in a Cayman Island. Cayman Island में कंपनी बनाई थी. हज ने पूरा का पूरा पैसा केमन आइलैंड की कंपनी को दिया. फिर केमन आइलैंड की एक कंपनी ने मॉरिशस की कंपनी में इन्वेस्टमेंट किया. अगेन इट वाज अ स्टेप डाउन सब्सिडियरी. व्हेन आई से स्टेप डाउन इट मींस 100% सब्सिडियरी. वो मॉरिशस की कंसर्न ने मॉरिशस में एक और कंपनी बनाई. एंड नाउ दैट फाइनल कंपनी इन्वेस्टेड इन इंडिया. दैट मींस हज जो हांगकांग की कंपनी थी वो इंडिया डायरेक्ट नहीं है. They first opened a company in Cayman Island. Cayman Island के बाद में Mauritius and Mauritius के through वो लोग इंडिया में आए. Now, what was the logic behind coming to India from the Mauritius and why Hutchison did not came directly from the Hong Kong? इसका ये रीजन है कि इंडिया का डबल टैक्सेशन अवॉइडेंस अग्रीमेंट बना हुआ है मॉरिशस के साथ. और वो अग्रीमेंट इस फॉर्मेट में बना है कि ठीक है भाई, मॉरिशस छोटी कंट्री है, हम चाहते हैं कि आप भी डेवलप हो जाए. तो अगर आपका कोई रेसिडेंट अगर इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट करता है प्रॉपर्टी में या कोई बिजनेस में एंड इफ ही अर्न सम कैपिटल गेन आउट ऑफ इट, वी वोंट टैक्स दैट इनकम. आपको मॉरिशस में जो टैक्स लगाना है लगा लो, आपको मॉरिशस में जो टैक्स लगाना है लगा लो. बट एज इंडिया वाले इसको हम टैक्स नहीं लगाएंगे. So all the countries in the world saw this as an opportunity कि अगर हम इंडिया मॉरिशस के थ्रू अगर इंडिया में इंटर अगर करते हैं तो देन हमारा जो भी फ्यूचर में कैपिटल गेन होगा बिजनेस बेच के, वो इसके ऊपर हमारे को इंडिया में टैक्स लगेगा नहीं और मॉरिशस में इट्स अ टैक्स हेवन. सो इफ यू सी बैक फ्रॉम 94 to 2005 इंडिया में जितने भी फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट्स हुए हैं या मल्टीनेशनल कंपनीज आई है, 90% of them came through the Mauritius route. 90% of them came through the Mauritius route. और वो लोग क्या करते थे, मॉरिशस में कंपनी बना लेते थे. So that company is a resident of Mauritius. It was incorporated in the Mauritius. और अब वो कंपनी के थ्रू वो इंडिया में इन्वेस्टमेंट करते थे, राइट? तो ऐसे ही हज ने भी इंडिया में इन्वेस्टमेंट किया. They had a good streak in India. इनका business अच्छा चला and finally they thought they don't have enough potential in the Indian market and they wanted to exit the Indian market. In between Vodafone, right? Vodafone is a company of London. It's a company of the United States. It's a very famous old telecom company. They were very keen to tap Indian market. So what they did was like they incorporated a company in a Netherlands. Vodafone वालों भी direct India नहीं है. What it is like, they incorporated an entity in a Netherlands, and that entity, instead of taking a license from the government, they approached Hutch, which is based in Hong Kong, कि आपका जो CGP इन्वेस्टमेंट के थ्रू आप इंडिया में जो बिजनेस होल्ड कर रहे हो, आप हमारे को CGP इन्वेस्टमेंट्स के पूरे शेयर बेच दो. So there was a negotiations between them, and finally transaction ये फॉर्मेट में हुआ कि हच ने 100% अपने जो CGP के शेयर्स थे, 100% हच ने अपने जो CGP के जो शेयर थे वो वोडाफोन की जो नेदरलैंड स्टेप डाउन सब्सिडरी थी उसको ट्रांसफर कर दिया. जस्ट अ मिनट. सब्सिडरी को ट्रांसफर कर दिया. अब ये जो पूरा का पूरा डील हुआ था, ये डील हुआ था 56,000 करोड़. So they came in India and they made a small investment, and by exiting out of India, they sold the business for 56,000 crore rupees. But इन्होंने क्या किया? इन्होंने मॉरिशस की एंटिटी की शेयर्स नहीं बेचे, इन्होंने शेयर्स बेचे केमन आइलैंड की जो CGP जो कंपनी थी उसकी शेयर्स बेचे. Right? So all in all, the shares were transferred outside India, and everything happened outside India. So what Vodafone did? Vodafone just intimated Indian RBI कि लोग हमने ये ऐसा हमारा शेयर होल्डिंग चेंज हो गया है, and now Vodafone is in charge of the entire Indian business. From there, one of the Indian income tax commissioner, Mr. Dave, he was like कि यार इतना बड़ा बिजनेस सेल हो गया है और आज इंडिया को उसमें ₹1 पे टैक्स नहीं आया. He was like, you know, a heck of money has been made by the Hutch, by the business in India. इंडिया में ये हर साल लॉस अपने दिखा रहे थे, और अब जब इंडिया एग्जिट करके जा रहे हैं तो इनको 56,000 करोड़ मिले और उन्होंने इंडिया में एक पैसा भी टैक्स पे नहीं किया. So what he did was like he issued a show cause notice. उन्होंने डिमांड रेज नहीं करी. आप बहुत सारे अगर आप उसके वीडियोस देखोगे या अगर आप कहीं पढ़ोगे तो उसके अंदर क्या लिखा है कि इनके ऊपर इतनी टैक्स डिमांड निकाली. द आंसर इज रॉन्ग. बहुत सारे इसमें फैक्ट्स पूरे ही डिस्टॉर्टेड बताए हैं. एक्चुअल फैक्ट इज दैट इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट ने उनको सिर्फ शो कॉज नोटिस भेजा था. बोलते हैं कि टेल अस, और शो कॉज नोटिस उन्होंने किसको भेजा? हज को भेजा कि वोडाफोन? उन्होंने शो कॉज नोटिस भेजा है वोडाफोन. They played really smart. Income tax department played really smart. They were like कि हज को तो पैसा मिल गया, ऐसे भी वो हांगकांग के बाहर चले गए, अब हम इनको तो पकड़ नहीं सकते टैक्स पे करने के लिए. बट इंडिया में कौन है? वोडाफोन. हम इनको पकड़ सकते हैं. सो व्हाट इज सेड इज लाइक कि तुमने जब ये बिजनेस इनको ट्रांसफर किया है, तुमने इंटर का एसेट ट्रांसफर किया है, हैव यू डिडक्टेड TDS अंडर सेक्शन 195? एंड इफ यू हैव नॉट डिडक्टेड TDS, why you should not be treated as an assessee in default? So this was simply a show cause notice sent by the income tax department to the Vodafone. Now Vodafone smelled कि नहीं आगे पीछे अपने को बड़ा टैक्स आ जाएगा. So Vodafone immediately approached Bombay High Court by saying कि show cause notice में जो इनकम ये लोग इनकम पे टैक्स लगाना चाहते हैं, that income is not taxable in India. Now again correlate to the first thing I started. इसका जो पूरा डिस्प्यूट था वोडाफोन का, it was regarding the income, whether this income was taxable in India. Fact, Vodafone made Hutch earned a huge income out of India, not in dispute. Dispute ये था कि इंडिया वालों के पास में ये टैक्सेशन के राइट है क्या? When matter traveled to the Bombay High Court, and extensive arguments were made by the income tax department, and extensive arguments were also made by the Vodafone side. In that case, for Vodafone, again a very famous man, Iqbal Chagla, was appearing. Then we had the very famous Congress advocate of India, Abhishek Manu Sangvi, And the first brief was given to Harish Salve. That means Harish Salve was the one who spearheaded the entire team of lawyers in an argument before the Bombay High Court. So Bombay High Court heard the entire matter. Bombay High Court heard the entire matter. And then Bombay High Court concluded, Bombay High Court heard the entire matter. Bombay High Court said कि लोग इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट वालों का ये बोलना है कि सेक्शन 9 सब सेक्शन 1 में लिखा है डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली, जो खांजोड़े सर ने स्टार्टिंग में हाईलाइट किया था. दे सेड इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट स्टार्टेड प्लीडिंग कि लोग सेक्शन 9(1) says directly or indirectly and related to any asset or source of income situated in India or transfer of capital asset. So according to the income tax department, their first argument was, look, this income falls within the section 911. What has been transferred by the Hutch is nothing but the interest in the Indian company. They also made a second line of argument, and they are like, look, this is a legitimate tax planning. This is a legitimate tax planning, and we are not the only one. It is everyone across the world. They are doing the same. They are doing the same. Again, from the Vodafone side, they made a very serious argument. They said, look, there is a difference between a tax planning and a tax avoidance. Here, what we did was a tax planning, and it is not a sham transaction, and it is very much documented. We have a company and everything was on record. So Bombay High Court heard the entire matter. And finally, Bombay High Court came up to two conclusions. Right? अगर आप जितनी भी जगह आप पढ़ोगे तो आपको हर जगह क्या बताया जाएगा कि इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट में जीत गई थी. The answer is no. What Bombay High Court says, prima facie, the shares which were transferred in a Cayman Island cannot be taxed by India. This was said by Bombay High Court. You'll find this in the order. Second, they said, look, this is not a sham transaction. This is an actual transaction. This is an actual transaction. So उन्होंने ये दो चीजें बोली. But then while finally they were concluding the judgment, they said कि still what has been transferred in India is some kind of an interest transfer in India. So according to us, department should get some more time. Department should get a proper opportunity. उन्होंने जो show cause दिया वो सही दिया. Department should understand the entire transaction, and then they should see whether it is taxable in India or not. हम हर जगह वीडियोस में और हम ये सुनते हैं कि बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट ने डिपार्टमेंट को बोला था कि ट्रांजैक्शन शैम है, गलत. बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट ने बोला था कि इट्स अ जेन्युइन ट्रांजैक्शन. बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट ने ये भी बोला था कि इट कैन नॉट बी टैक्स इन इंडिया. बट बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट ने आखिरी में क्या करके छोड़ दिया? दे डिडंट गिव एनी जजमेंट. दे सेड कि तुमने शो कॉज नोटिस इशू करी वो सही है. इट इज जस्ट अ शो कॉज नोटिस. यू हैव अ राइट. तुम इनका पूरा ट्रांजैक्शन एनालाइज करो, हर एंगल से आप इसको समझो, एंड देन इफ यू थिंक it should be taxed in India, then it should be taxed in India. So what Bombay High Court said कि इंडिया वालों ने जो शो कॉज नोटिस किया वो सही है. They directed Vodafone to go comply with the income tax department, and if there is any tax demand by the virtue of this show cause notice, then tax demand can be taken to an appellate authorities, जो CIT, Appeal Tribunal, High Court, Supreme Court. So ये issue सिर्फ show cause notice का था. Again, so what Bombay High Court did is like they left the matter unsettled. बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट ने कहीं भी कुछ कंक्लूसिव बातें नहीं बताई. सो फाइनली दिस मैटर वेंट अप टू अ सुप्रीम कोर्ट. क्योंकि आज हमारा सेशन वोडाफोन केस लॉ पे है, तो आई क्रेव लीव टू एक्सप्लेन यू अ बिट अबाउट द कोर्टरूम ड्रामा व्हिच एक्चुअली हैपेंड इन द सुप्रीम कोर्ट. You know, when Vodafone went to the Supreme Court against the order of the Bombay High Court, this time Vodafone made sure that they hired the best legal firm of the India. Then they hired Mr. Harish Salve on an exclusive basis, and Harish Salve was supported by a team of 45 paralegal lawyers. Even though the main arguments were made by Harish Salve and Apsi Chinoy, but then they were supported by a team of 45 lawyers. And on the other hand, Indian government just had a team of an humble 8 people who were arguing for the Indian right. where you have India's most famous man arguing for the Vodafone India had a very decent defense against all the biggies of the industries. So when the matter started in the Supreme Court, Harish Salve argued at a stretch 17 days. Like he argued 17 working days just to make court understand, look, this is not a tax planning. This is not a tax avoidance. This is a tax planning. He raised a very, very important point in front of Supreme Court. ये आपको ज़्यादा पढ़ने नहीं मिलेगा. Supreme Court के सामने हरीश साल्वे का एक जो मुद्दा जिसमें उन्होंने बहुत स्ट्रेस किया, उन्होंने कि लोग 1990 में इंडिया का और मॉरिशस का ये बना था, अग्रीमेंट बना था. 90 से लेके 2005 तक इंडिया में जितना भी फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट आया है, सब का सब मॉरिशस के थ्रू आया है. That means Indian government was knowing that all the big multinational companies are entering in India through Mauritius. But that time they didn't say anything because India wanted money. 94 से लेके India really wanted money. India wanted a lot of foreign direct investment. तब India ने कुछ नहीं किया. Now when they are exiting India, they are treating this transaction as a sham transaction, is highly something which in any way not in line with the international investor sentiments. So he argued very smartly and he tried to make out a case कि देखो अगर आप इनको टैक्स लगा दोगे ना तो जितने भी इंडिया में फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट हो रहे हैं ना सब इंडिया में आने से कतरा जाएंगे. एक तो गवर्नमेंट बुला रही है और जब ये लोग इंडिया छोड़ के जाना चाह रहे हैं तब वो उनको परेशान कर रहे हैं. So he made a very elaborate argument for 17 days. He argued on tax avoidance versus tax planning. He argued on Section 9. He also argued on deeming provision. He also argued on whether direct and indirect mention in Section 9(1) is regarding the asset or it is regarding the income. After his 17 days of argument, the Income Tax Department took 7 days just to controvert the arguments of the Harish Salve. And finally, Harish Salve countered the argument department for next 3 days. So accordingly, the entire hearing went all the way for 26 days. And it was during this hearing, the judge, the Chief Justice of India, Mr. S.H. Kapadia, he said कि यार तुम शो कॉज नोटिस लेके मेरे पास आ गए हो, एटलीस्ट मुझे ये तो बताओ कि इसके अंदर कितनी टैक्स लायबिलिटी है. तो इट वाज फर्स्ट टाइम देन द गवर्नमेंट से कि इसके अंदर हमारे हिसाब से टैक्स लायबिलिटी आ रही है 11,250 करोड़ रुपए. दैट टाइम डिपार्टमेंट केम टू नो कि ओ माय गॉड, दैट टाइम वोडाफोन वाज लाइक कि इतनी बड़ी टैक्स लायबिलिटी. देन फाइनली अ केस वाज हर्ड by 3 judges and a judgment was rendered wherein they followed Bombay High Court and said कि look, this is not a sham transaction. They also said कि share transferred by a CGP investment will not be treated as a share transfer in India. Supreme Court made a very important fundamental observation. They said कि Indian income tax law does not have a look-through approach. Look-through means कि आप जाके देखो कि actual में who is a beneficiary. There is no such amendment made in the income tax law. In the absence of any amendment, in the absence of any such provision, all what government can do is like they can see the transaction as it is. They cannot go beyond the transaction. And then they said, look, this is a legitimate tax planning. And this is what is being done by all the multinational companies across India. So finally, the judgment of Supreme Court gave a clear-cut finding in the case of Vodafone, and they said that this income cannot be taxed in India. There is no need of deduction of TDS, and this income is not taxable in India. Accordingly, Vodafone won the matter in India. And do you know how much fees Mr. Harish Salve has charged for this case? Do you have any idea? Mr. Harish Salve has charged a whopping 60 crore rupees just for the arguing in Supreme Court for 26 days. He has charged 60 crore rupees. Look, this is the kind of amount involved in the direct tax litigation or an international tax litigation. So when Vodafone won in the court. Then government was like, "No, this is nothing doing." That time Pranab Mukherjee was a finance minister. He was like, "Look, this is a clearly sham transaction." Then they amended section 9, subsection 1, and they made various amendment, and they made an amendment by way of an explanation. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है समझना. अगर एक सेक्शन में अगर एक्सप्लेनेशन आता है, that explanation is always a retrospective, because the explanation is brought to clarify the intent of the section. और अगर प्रोविजो आता है तो प्रोविजो always gives कि इसमें क्या नहीं आना चाहिए. तो उन्होंने explanation ऐड किया, और explanation में उन्होंने ऐड किया कि the word through means by or in consequent. They said कि even if a company which is outside India, if that company is deriving substantial value from the shares registered in India, जो हुआ था CGP के केस में, तो हम वो शेयर्स को भी deemed to be located in India मानेंगे. तो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट ने क्या किया? इंडियन गवर्नमेंट ने सेक्शन 9 को ही अमेंड कर दिया और बोला कि हम सिर्फ इंडिया के शेयर्स को नहीं, बाहर की कोई कंपनी अगर इंडिया की कंपनी में शेयर्स होल्ड कर रही है और वो शेयर सब्सटेंशियल है, सब्सटेंशियली अपना वैल्यू इंडियन एसेट से डिराइव कर रही है, तो वो will be deemed to be treated as a share situated in India. So in this given case, ये amendment आने के बाद में क्या हो गया? As per section 9, the shares of CGP which erstwhile were located in Cayman Islands were treated as deemed to be situated in India. Act क्या बोलता है ये है नहीं, but हम ये मानेंगे. And by doing this, what Indian government did, they again raised a demand of 11,250 crore rupees, plus this time with all interest equating some 15,000 crore rupees on Vodafone. Right? Against that Vodafone, this time Vodafone didn't go to Supreme Court. They directly went to the International Court of Arbitration. And they were like, look, we have a treaty with India. कि अगर आप इंडिया में आओगे, इन्वेस्टमेंट करोगे तो हम ये आपको मदद करेंगे. But then what India has done, it's again the spirit of the bilateral treaty. And now recently we have a judgment wherein court said, wherein the arbitration court of Hague said कि this income cannot be taxed by India. And they also said कि इंडिया ने जितना भी इनके पैसा लिया है 2,500 करोड़ रुपए को इंटरेस्ट समेत वापस करो. और साथ ही साथ इंडियन गवर्नमेंट को 40 करोड़ रुपए 40 CR एज ए लीगल रीएम्बर्समेंट ऑफ कॉस्ट वोडाफोन को देने के लिए. वो अपनी एक कहावत है ना, हम तो नमाज पढ़ने गए थे, अदा करने गए थे और रोजे गले पड़ गए. एग्जैक्टली दिस इज द सेम केस. ना आपको 1 रुपए टैक्स आया, आपको विद इंटरेस्ट पैसा वापस देने का है, आपको 40 करोड़ रुपए उनकी लीगल कॉस्ट भी वापस देने की है. इंडिया ने सिर्फ वोडाफोन के साथ में नहीं किया, इंडिया ने ऐसे और काफी एंटिटीज के साथ में रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव अमेंडमेंट करके उसके ऊपर टैक्स डिमांड निकाली. ऐसे ही टैक्स डिमांड निकाला था केन इंडिया के साथ में, वहां पे टैक्स लायबिलिटी 11,000 करोड़. तो उनके केस में भी अभी आर्बिट्रेशन कोर्ट ने ऑर्डर किया कि इंडियन गवर्नमेंट शुड गिव बैक एंटायर मनी कलेक्टेड बाय देम. दे शुड रीएम्बर्स 160 crore रुपीस लीगल एक्सपेंसेस भी उनको रीएम्बर्स करने के लिए बोला है. और एट द सेम टाइम एक टाइम बाउंड पैसा रिटर्न करने के लिए इंडियन गवर्नमेंट को बोला गया. बट इंडियन गवर्नमेंट इज लाइक कि हम पैसा नहीं देंगे. सो व्हाट केन इंडिया डिड, they again moved various courts जहाँ पे इंडिया की प्रॉपर्टीज थी, जैसे फ्रांस, यूके, नेदरलैंड, और उन्होंने इंडिया की 5 लाख करोड़ रुपीस की प्रॉपर्टीज आज के डेट में आइडेंटिफाई करके रखी है, फॉर विच दे हैव मेड अ रिप्रेजेंटेशन टू द आर्बिट्रेशन कोर्ट की ये सारी प्रॉपर्टीज इंडिया की अटैच करो, ये हमारे पैसे वापस नहीं दिए तो ये बेच के हम पैसा वसूल करें. सो ऑल इन ऑल, by doing this retrospective amendment, India has not gained anything. Rather, they have lost a lot of money and they have actually lost good face in the international community. So this was all about Vodafone case law. So these are a few amendments which they have made. I'll share my slide with Ravina so she can share with you so that you can read all the amendments line by line. If you have any doubts or if you have any concern regarding the taxation impact, we can discuss it over phone. आप मुझे call करिए, आप मेरे office आइए, we can discuss it. Considering that we have already offshoot our time, I'll just take 5 minutes to complete the remaining clauses of section 9.1. सेक्शन 9.1 का सेकंड क्लॉज है इसका सैलरी का। ये बोलता है कि अगर आपने कोई सर्विस अगर इंडिया में रेंडर करी है तो आपको अगर सैलरी बाहर भी मिली है, that salary will be treated as deemed to receive in India. This is 9.12 for you. 9.13 says that if an Indian government pays to Indian citizen outside India for rendering service, that service will be treated as a service rendered in India, or the income of or the salary income will be treated as income in India. Direct example, इंडिया के जो एम्बेसडर्स बाहर है, जो यूएस एम्बेसी में जो एम्बेसडर्स है, इनको जो सैलरी जा रही है या जो लोग वहाँ काम कर रहे हो, सेक्शन 9.13 brings all such income even if they are rendering service outside India, even if they are outside India, उनको बोलना है कि ये पूरी इनकम पूरा राइज है, इंडिया मानी चाहिए. Now we go to section 9.1 subclause 4. It says dividend. It says any dividend paid by an Indian company will be deemed to accrue or arise in India. So a non-resident has invested in a Reliance Industries. Reliance Industries has made them some payment of dividend. It will be treated as an income in India. Then section 9.1 subclause 5 talks about interest. It says government of India or an Indian resident, if they make any payment of interest to a non-resident, it will be taxable in India. However, there is an exception. It says if an interest payment is made for the business outside India or for earning any income outside India, then it will be treated as income not deemed to accrue or arise. और वही अगर एक नॉन रेसिडेंट दूसरे नॉन रेसिडेंट से बाहर अगर पैसा ले रहा है, बट अगर ये पैसा अगर इंडिया के बिजनेस के लिए यूज हो रहा है और ये बाहर ही अगर इंटरेस्ट पे कर रहा है, तो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट का ये बोलना है कि इवन दो इट इज पेड आउटसाइड इंडिया, इट आल्सो अक्रूड आउटसाइड इंडिया, बट देन एज इट वाज टेकन फॉर द इंडियन बिजनेस will deem it to be accrued or arise in India. This was 9.4. 9.5. Then again 9.5 is royalty. 9.6 is royalty. Royalty talks about any copyright, any patent, any hire purchase agreement, or any rental lease agreement, and there are many such clauses added which says that any income earned by a non-resident by virtue of a royalty in India will be taxed in India. रॉयल्टी पे इंडियन गवर्नमेंट ने सब्सिडाइज रेट पे टैक्स किया है, जो टैक्स रेट है सिर्फ 10% प्लस सरचार्ज फॉर एजुकेशन से. इसमें भी आपको वो एक एग्जम्पशन मिल जाएगा. अगर आप बाहर के बिजनेस के लिए अगर रॉयल्टी यूज कर रहे हो तो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट वो रॉयल्टी पे टैक्स नहीं करेगा. देन अगेन वी हैव 9.7 फीस फॉर टेक्निकल सर्विसेज इन इंडिया. फीस फॉर टेक्निकल सर्विसेज इंक्लूड मैनेजरियल, कंसल्टेंसी और टेक्निकल सर्विसेज. दैट मींस इफ देयर इज सम आर्किटेक्ट हु इज बेस्ड आउट ऑफ इंडिया, say a very famous architect of London, and Indian government or the Indian citizen ask him to prepare a blueprint of a big building in India, and he prepares that blueprint, वो map बना के Indian government को भेजता है. Even though he has prepared that map outside India, even though he has rendered service outside India, Indian government says कि क्योंकि पेमेंट इंडिया से हो रहा है, क्योंकि सोर्स इंडिया से है, तो it will be taxable in India. And then again 918 is about गिफ्ट. ये भी नया सेक्शन आया है 5 जुलाई 2019 से. पहले हम गिफ्ट पढ़ते थे 5627 या 56.210 में, जो बोलता है अगर मैं गिफ्ट करता हूँ किसी को which is more than 50,000 rupees, then it will be treated as an income from other sources. But 56.210 में वर्ड जो दिखा है, it was like any resident, so it did not cover non-resident. तो उन्होंने 56.8 को लेके आ गया है, by virtue of which they also covered अगर एक इंडियन अगर किसी non-resident को अगर गिफ्ट करता है which is more than 50,000 other than his relatives, then that gift will be treated as deemed to accrue or arise in India. Right? So this was all about section 9.1. Section 9.1 is a very big section and it is highly litigated. अगर आप बेसिक फंड आप समझोगे सेक्शन 9.1 के लिए, बिजनेस विद इंडिया और बिजनेस इन इंडिया, और रॉयल्टी और एफटीएस के लिए अगर सोर्स इंडिया में है, इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ फैक्ट कि सर्विस कहाँ हुआ है, या इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ फैक्ट कि हमने रॉयल्टी कहाँ दिया है, या फिर सर्विस हमें कहाँ मिली है, इट विल बी ट्रीटेड एज डीम्ड टू accrue or arise. This is section 9.4. All in all, today we have studied section 5, section 6 and section 9, and this is all about the basics of international taxation. Over to you, Ravina. Hello.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It was a very intriguing section. The way you explained all the sections from basics and in detail, you explained it in a very lucid manner. I hope all the students have been able to derive maximum benefit out of it. So before we conclude the session, I would now request Ravina Tade, Joint Editor of Nagpur branch of WICASA, for her concluding remarks and to propose the formal word of thanks. Over to you, Ravina.
Thank you, Abhinay. First of all, sir, it was an amazing session with you. I would like to thank CA Rakesh Khanzode, sir, for sharing his knowledge and insights on the NRI taxation rules. The practical examples and aspects shared would definitely be beneficial to all the attendees of the session. I would also like to thank our expert speaker of the session, CA Mahavir Atal, sir, for brilliantly carrying out the session with his examples, influential tone of explanation, and his knowledge. I would also like to thank our chairman, chairman of the Nagpur branch of WIC of ICAI, for always allowing us and boost up to carry such wonderful session. Our WICASA chairman, sir, C. Jiteen Saglani, sir, the pillar of our team, who is our constant supporter, and Team WICASA for the amazing session. And the major gratitude to all the attendees of the session for being patient listener all the time and making it an interactive session. Thank you, one. Thank you all. Over to you, Abhinay.
Thank you so much, Ravina. So that was for the session. So there are some questions. Can we take it? I'm sorry, I missed it earlier.
Can you take it on offline basis? I'll be available on phone. I'll be available on mail. It's just that I've got another meeting scheduled for 5:30 and my time.
Okay. No, sir. No issues. Absolutely.
I know. I'm extremely sorry that I have
offline.
exceeded my given time of 5 o'clock, but it was just few vital concepts which at least I want to touch upon them. But then if there are any questions, we just share them my number and be glad to interact with them, understand their query and give them a proper reply, which in my wisdom will be right.
Okay. Sure, sir. We'll do that. Okay. Can I please request all our participants to turn on their cameras so that we can have a proper screenshot? I will again request all the participants to turn on the camera. Okay. A minute more, please. Okay. So that was it for the session. I hope you enjoyed a lot and you have got a lot many things to learn from the session. We'll continue with the sessions and we'll see you in future events too. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Hello, Ravina. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Can you share my number with whomsoever have a query? अगर किसी का एक हाथ